Sea Routes in the Western Mediterranean. Route page, from Gibraltar to Genoa A, through the Balearic Sea B, via Algiers, from Gibraltar to Naples, from Lisbon Tangier and from Gibraltar to Marseille, from Tangier and Cartagena to Oran, from Marseille to Oran, from Marseille to Algiers, Bougie, Philippeville, and Bona 126, from Marseille to Tunis, from Algiers to Tunis by sea, from Marseille to Naples, from Genoa to Naples, from Genoa to Tunis via Leghorn and Cagliari, from Naples to Tunis via Palermo. From Naples to Syracuse, Malta, Tunis, Tripoli, via Messina and Catania, from Messina to Syracuse, 158. From Gibraltar to Genoa. A through the Balearic Sea. M steamboats see Gibraltar Chronicle and Comp. pp. 53 114. White Star Line from New York or Boston, 2 or 3 times monthly. North German Lloyd from Southampton, monthly. Cunard Line from New York, occasionally. Lloyd Sabato from S. America, monthly. On leaving Gibraltar, P52, the steamer enters the open Mediterranean and steers to the ENE, generally at an accelerated speed as far as Cape Palos, owing to the strong current flowing in from the Atlantic P5. Looking back farther on, we enjoy in clear weather a splendid asterisk view of the straits, and especially of the coast of Morocco from Cape Spartel to the Punta de la Almena, P123, from which peep the white houses of Ceuta. The Rif MTS. Jebel Beni Hassan, P123, also remain visible for a time. The Spanish coast with the Sierra Bermeja, the Sierra de Mejas, and the Punta de Calaburas lighthouse. Gradually recedes far away to the left is the Bay of Malaga. Off Cape Sacratif with its lighthouse, we obtain a grand asterisk view of the Sierra Nevada, P49, in front of which rise the almost entirely barren Sierra de Almagora, Sierra Contraviesa, and Sierra de Gador. Near the Punta del Sabinal, lighthouse, opens the broad semicircular Bay of Almeria. In the foreground rise the bare hills of Cabo de Gata, 1683 ft. Lighthouse, with the Puerto Genovese beyond. Steering now to the NE, we pass the Punta de Loma Pelada, backed by the Frailes, monks, 2 huge pyramids of rock. Then the Mesa de Roldan, the Bay of Cartagena, P125, the Cabo Tinoso, Cape Palos, and the island of Hormiga Grande, all with lighthouses. Nearing the Balearic Islands, we may descry to the left, in very clear weather, the coast plain of Murcia and even the distant hills of Alicante, as far as Cabo de la Nau and Mongo. The vessel now steers round the Balearic Islands, see Baedeker's Spain and Portugal, on the SE side if storms in the Gulf of Lions are expected, but usually through the Bay of Valencia and the Balearic Sea. In this case, we pass close to the island of Ibiza, which is flanked on the S.W. in front of the Atalayasa, 1559 ft. By the bold rocky islet of Vedra, and on the W by the Bleda Islets and Canegera, with a lighthouse. On the NE point of Ibiza is the lighthouse of Punta Grossa. In the foreground, farther on, appear the bold limestone slopes of the island of Dragonera, with a lighthouse, 1191 ft. Visible for 40 m round. Beyond it is Majorca, the largest of the Balearic Islands, whose barren mountains, culminating in the Puig Mayor, 4741 ft. In the center, are visible to their full extent beyond the little port of Soler. From Cape Formentor Lighthouse, at the NE point of Majorca, the steamer proceeds due NE to the Isle du Levant or du Titan Lighthouse, visible for nearly 40 m round, the eastmost of the Isles de Hires P133, which flank the coast of Provence. The island of Porquerolles also, the westmost of the group, is visible. In favorable weather, the asterisk voyage through the Ligurian Sea affords delightful views. The steamers vary their course, but usually steer towards Cape Ferret near Villafranche, past Cape Camarat Lighthouse, the beautiful double Bay of Cannes with the Isles de Lérins opposite to it, and the Cap d'Antibes. On a clear day Nice is visible in the distance. We then skirt the Riviera di Ponent, P118, passing Ventimiglia, Wunglia, and Albenga, backed by the Maritime and the Ligurian Alps, snow-clad in winter and spring. On the picturesque coast between Nice and Bordicura, the scenery changes rapidly. After the little bay of Villafranca, with Cape Ferrat, Lighthouse, come Beaulieu, the grey rock village of Ez, close under the Grand Corniche, and La Turbie, overtopped by the forts behind. We next sight the Rock of Monaco, with its cathedral and huge marine museum, while among the houses of the little principality may be seen the less conspicuous casino of Monte Carlo. Beyond the olive-clad Cape Martin appears the Bay of Mentone, with its superb circus of mountains, then Cape Mortola, the Italian frontier town of Ventimiglia, and beyond the ravine of the Roja, the little town of Bordicura, with its cape and its dense olive and palm groves. Next come Ospedaletti, overlooked by the loftily situated little town of Coldirodi, and San Remo, on a broad bay bounded by Capo Nero and Capo Verde. The coast is now less attractive till we are off Porto Maurizio, a provincial capital picturesquely situated on a headland, and approach Wunglia. Near Cape Berta we gradually leave the coast, pass Cape Meal, with its lighthouse, 742 ft, and Marconi Station for wireless telegraphy, and steer across the Gulf of Genoa. On the left lie Le Geglia Alassio, and beyond the fissured island of Gallinaria, the little town of Albenga. Next, on a semicircular coast plain, lie the villages of Lono and Finale Marina, and a little beyond them rises the Capo di Noli. Beyond Cape Vado, we overlook the bay of the industrial seaport of Savona, as far as the headland of Portofino, p. 134. In the background rise the Apennines and the Apuan Alps, p. 134, snow-capped in winter. Steering through the Avamporto and the Porto Nuovo, we obtain a superb view of Genoa, rising in a semicircle on the hillside. Genoa equals arrival by sea. The passenger steamers land at the Pont Federico Guglielmo, PL, AB3, with custom house, post, telegraph, and railway offices in the Porto or inner harbor. Failing room at that pier, they anchor near it, landing by boat with luggage 1 fr. Embarkation 30 at night 50 c, or they are berthed at the Pont Andrea Doria, PL. A3. At the custom house examination, the Facchino of the Dogana expects 20-30 c. Railway stations, 1, Stazioni Piazza Principe, PL, B2 Rail Restore, Dage, 23 D34 FR. In the Piazza Equaverd, the chief station for all trains, where cabs, P114 and omnibuses are in waiting. 2 Stazioni di Brignole or Oriental, PL. HI6, the E. Station, Piazza Giuseppe Verdi, a subsidiary station for Pisa, Florence, Rome, etc. Railway tickets may be obtained also of the Fratelli Gondrand, via 20 Settember 35 and of those. Cook & Son, P114. Hotels mostly in noisy situations and variously judged. Grand Hot, Muramare, PL. Me, a 2 via Pagano Doria above the principal station with terrace R from 6 D6 2 FR. Bertolini's Bristol Hot. PL. PF6 via 20 Settember 35 R from 7 D7 1.5 FR. GR Hot. De Guernes, PL. F E5 R from 5 D67 1 FR. Eden Palace, PL. BG5 via Sarah 68 R from 6 D57 FR. GR Hot. Save PL, SC2 above Piazza Quavard R from 4 D56 a half FR. GR Hot Isata PL. A F5 via Roma 57 R. From 5 D6 1.5 FR. Hot, de la Ville PL, DD4 via Carlo Alberto R from 4 D5 1 FR. Britannia PL. YC2 R from 3 FR, Modern Hot. PL VF6 R from 4 D5 1 FR. Continental PL 1 E4 R410 D5 1 1/4 FR. Less pretending Hot, de France PL GD5 R34 D4 1 FR. Hot, Smith PL ED5 Engel Landlord R from 2.5 D4 1 FR. Good, Central PL. CF5 R24 1/2 FR. Royal Aquila PL. KC2 near the principal station R35 D5 1/2 FR, good for passing tourists, Imperial PL, IMF6 R from 3.5 FR, Regina PL QF6. Equals Hotels Garnies equals Splendide PL, XF6 Bavaria PL, ZF5 Excelsior PL, WE5 R and all these from 3 or 4 FR. Equals Cafes, equals Roma via Roma 15, Milano Galleria Mazzini, both are also restaurants. Equals Restaurants equals Italian Cookery. Trattoria del Titro Carlo Fellis PL, EF5 Good Cairo via 20 Settember 36, Ristorante della Posta Galleria Mazzini moderate often crowded. Equals Beer equals Giardino d'Italia and Payer both in Piazza Corvetto PL, FG5 Gambrinus via San Sebastiano PL, F5. Equals Cabs equals 1 horse per drive to the E as far as the Bisagno to the W, to the Lighthouse 1 at night 1.5 FR, per HR, 2 or 2 1/2 fr, each added, a half hr, 1 or 1 1/4 fr, to nervy or pegly 5 there and back with a half hr, stay 7 1/2 fr, with 2 horses a half fr. Extra in each case. Night is from 9 in winter from 7 till sunrise. Small packages inside cab are free, each trunk 20c. Motor cabs taxi meter per drive of 1200 met. 2/3 m 1 fr, 20c each added, 300 met. 20c, at night 10 or 8 to dawn 1/4 extra. Trunk 25c. Equals tramways equals 6 or 7 a.m. till midnight. The chief lines are, equals 1, equals Piazza Principe, PL, B2, Piazza Quavard, PL, BC2, Piazza Zecca, PL, DE3, Funicular to Casallaxio, Piazza Corvetto, PL, FG5, and Piazza de Ferrari, PL, E6, 10C. Equals 2, equals Piazza Principe, Piazza Quavard, Via di Circonvallazione a Monte, station for Casallaxio at San Nicolo, PL. E1, Piazza Manon, PL, I4, Piazza Corvetto and Piazza de Ferrari, 25C. Equals 3 equals Piazza Caricamento, PL, D5, Piazza Principe via Milano, PL, A2, Lighthouse, P117, San Pier d'Arena, Sestri Ponente, and Pegli, P. 117, 55C. Equals 4, equals Piazza Raibetta, PL. D5, Via di Circonvallazione a Mare, P116, and Stazione Orientale, PL. HI6, 10C. Equals 5, equals Piazza de Ferrari, Piazza Manon, via Montaldo, PL. I1 and Camposanto, P117, 15C. Equals 6, equals Piazza de Ferrari via 20 Settember, Pont Pila, PL. HI7 and Nervi, P117, every a quarter HR, in 50 min, 45C. Branch to the Lido del Barro, P117. Equals Post Office equals PL. F5, Galleria Mazzini, new building in the Piazza de Ferrari, PL, E6, CP 116, open 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Equals Telegraph Office equals PL. E6, Palazzo Ducale, Piazza de Ferrari. Equals Steamers. Equals Cunard Line, C. Figali, Piazza San Marcelino 6, from New York, Gibraltar, and Genoa to Trieste. White Star Line, Piazza Annunziata 18, to Naples, Gibraltar, and New York or Boston. Netherland Royal Mail Agenzia Hollandaise, Piazza de Ferrari, from Southampton to Genoa, Port Said, and Batavia. North German Lloyd, Leupold Bros via Garibaldi 5, for Algiers and Gibraltar, for Naples and Port Said, for Marseille and Barcelona, for Naples, Catania, the Piraeus, Smyrna, Constantinople, etc. Hamburg American Line, Piazza Annunziata 18, to Naples and New York, also excursion boats. Società Nazionale via Balbi 40, for Naples and New York Comp. R24, also circular tour to Cagliari, Tunis, Tripoli, Malta, Syracuse, Messina, Naples, and back to Genoa RR. 25, 64, 27, 24, also to Palermo, Trapani, and Syracuse, to Palermo, Messina, the Piraeus, Constantinople, Odessa, and Bottom, to Smyrna and Constantinople RR. 27, 80, to Leghorn, Naples, Messina, and Alexandria R67, to Naples and Port Said R67. Lavalos via Garibaldi 2, to Naples and Tenerife for Brazil, and via Marseille and Barcelona to Tenerife, Colón. Italia via 20 Settember 34 to Tenerife and Buenos Aires. Lloyd Italiano, Palazzo Doria via Andrea Doria, for Naples and New York R24. Lloyd Sabato, Piazza San Siro, for Naples, Palermo, and New York RR. 24, 26, and for Tarragona, Gibraltar, and Buenos Aires. Campania Transatlantica, Giovanelli via Balbi, Salida Santa Brigida 2, for Barcelona, Lisbon, and Liverpool, for Port Said and Manila, and for Barcelona, Malaga, Tenerife, and Buenos Aires. Equals Bankers, equals Kirby and La Messurier via Carlo Fellis 7, those. Cook and Son, Piazza della Meridiana, Cora via Carali PL. E4, Credito Italiano via San Luca 4, Banca Commercial Italiana, Piazza Banchai 11 PL. D5, Money Changers abound near the Borsa. Bookseller. A. Donath via Luculi 33. Equals Consuls, equals British Consul General William Keane via Asserati 11 Vice Consul A. Turton. U. S. Consul General J. A. Smith via 20 Settember 42, Vice Consul J. W. Dye. Equals Churches, equals English Church of the Holy Ghost, via Guido PL. G4, services at 8, 15 and 11 a.m., occasionally also at 4 p.m. Presbyterian, via Peschiera 4, service at 11 a.m. Equals sites, equals Museo Chiassone, P116, daily except Moan 10-3 Adam, 1 FR. Palazzo Bianco P116, daily Oct, March 11-4 April Sept. 10-4 Sun and Thurs, a quarter FR, other days a half FR, free on last Sun. Of each month, Palazzo Durazzo Pallavicini, see below, daily 11-4 fee a 1 FR. Palazzo Rosso P116, free daily, 11-4 except on 2s. Sun and holidays. Genoa, Italy. Genova, French Guernes, a city of 156,000 inhab, was a republic and a great naval power in the Middle Ages, rivaling Venice, but declined after the 16th century. In 1797, it became the capital of Napoleon's Ligurian Republic, and since 1815 has belonged to the Kingdom of Sardinia, which is now merged in that of Italy. Next to Marseille, it is the greatest of Mediterranean seaports. The exports and imports in 1908 amounted to 6.4 million tons, and the tonnage of shipping to 14.4 millions. From the pier, either the Pont Federico Guglielmo or the Pont Andrea Doria, P113, we cross the harbor rails to the Palazzo Doria, PL. AB2, once presented by the Republic to Andrea Doria, 1468-1560, the famous admiral of Charles V, and enter the Piazza del Principe, PL. B2. Tramway, CP 114, with its handsome bronze monument to the Marchese de Ferrari, Duke of Galliera, d. 1876, to whose generosity Genoa is partly indebted for its new quays, 1,877.95. The Via Andrea Doria leads hence to the to the Piazza Acquavard, PL. B. C2, the square in front of the railway station, where, amid palms, rises a monument to Columbus, who was probably born at Genoa in 1451, d. at Valladolid in 1506. To the SE from this piazza runs a narrow line of streets, the chief artery of traffic, adorned with superb late Renaissance edifices, built chiefly by Galeazzo Alessi, 1512-72, named Via Balbi, Via Caroli, and Via Garibaldi, and ending at the Piazza Fontaine Maros. Several of the palaces are well worth seeing, especially for the sake of their grand staircases. Number 10 on the right side of the Via Balbi is the Palazzo Reale, PL. C3, built after 1650 for the Durazzo family and purchased in 1817 for the Royal House of Sardinia. Number 5 on the left is the equals Palazzo dell'Università equals PL. D2-3, begun by Bart Bianco in 1623 as a Jesuit school. The court and the staircases are considered the finest in Genoa. Farther on, to the right, number 4 is the Palazzo Balbi Senerga. Number 1 on the left is the Palazzo Durazzo Pallavicini, PL. D3, both by Bart Bianco. The picture gallery in the latter, Adam, see above, it contains portraits by Rubens and Van Dyck, painted during their visits to Genoa. We cross the Piazza dell'Annunziata, PL. D3, with the handsome Baroque church of that name on the left, and the small Piazza della Zecca, PL. E3, funicular to Casalaxio, P117, and then follow the Via Caroli, PL. E4 to the Via Garibaldi, PL. E4, which is flanked with numerous palaces. No, 13 on the left is the equals Palazzo Bianco equals. Number 18 on the right, the equals Palazzo Rosso equals. Both once belonged to the Brignolsale family, but were bequeathed to the city by the Marchesa Brignolsale, d. 1889, widow of the Duca di Galliera, p. 115, and converted into the two galleries named Brignolsale, Adam, c. 115. Most of the other palaces were designed by Gal. Alessi. From the Piazza Fontaine Maros, PL. F45, the short Via Carlo Fellis leads to the SW to the Piazza de Ferrari, PL. E56, the center of the city and focus of most of the tramway lines, P114. The Accademia di Belle Arti, PL. EF6, on the east side of the piazza, contains the valuable Museo Chiassone Adam, CP115, a collection of Japanese and Chinese works of art. The busy Via Roma, PL. F5 leads to the NE from the Piazza di Ferrari, past right the Galleria Mazzini to the Piazza Corvetto PL. FG5, adjoining which on the left on an old bastion is the Valletta d'Ingro PL. F4, 242 FT. Fine views, a beautiful public park. From the SE side of the Piazza di Ferrari, where the new buildings of the Exchange Borsa and the Post Office are in progress, PL. EF6 runs the broad new Via 20 Settembre, PL. FH6-7, the favorite promenade of the citizens, leading to the Bisagno Valley and the Stazioni Orientate, P113. Immediately before we reach the street viaduct, we may turn to the right, cross the Piazza Ponticolo, PL. F6-7, and ascend the Via Fieschi to Santa Maria di Carignano, PL. E8, 172 FT, built by Galilesi. The Gallery of the Dome, 249 steps, Sacristan 25C, is a splendid point of view. The Via Nino Bixio and Via Corsica, PL. EF8-9 lead thence to the Via di Circonvallazione a Mare skirting the coast on the site of the old town ramparts, named Via Odone and Corso Aurelio Saffi, PL. EH9-10, tramway number 4, CP 114. From the SW angle of the Piazza di Ferrari, the short Via Celai leads to the Piazza Umberto I, PL. E6. On its end side rises the old Palazzo Ducale, or Palace of the Doges, telegraph office, approached by a handsome flight of steps. On the SE side is the ornate Jesuit church of Sant Ambrogio, containing a presentation in the temple and the miracles of Saint Ignatius by Rubens. From the Piazza Umberto I, the busy Via San Lorenzo leads to the NW, past the Cathedral PL. E5-6, San Lorenzo, dating from the 12th-17th cent. In the left aisle, the fine early Renaissance chapel of San Giovanni Battista, back to the harbor. Following the tramway to the right to the Piazza Ribetta, we observe on the left, between that piazza and the Piazza Caricamento, the Gothic Palazzo di San Giorgio, once the seat of the great merchants' bank of that name. Beyond the Piazza Caricamento, the noisy Via Carlo Alberto PL. DC42 leads to the N past the Darsena, once the naval harbor, to the Piazza Principe and to the piers, affording a glimpse at the harbor traffic. From the Piazza della Zecca, P116, a funicular tramway, 50C, ascends every 10 min to San Nicolo PL. E1, change cars and *Casalaxio equals, loftily situated. At the terminus, about 1025 FT. Ristorante Baragardo Dage, 2.5 D4 FR. Commended, there is a splendid view of the Bisagno Valley with the Campo Santo, see below. About a half M. To the NW rises the old fort of Casalaxio, 1254 FT, which commands an admirable survey of Genoa and the coast from Savona, P113, to the headland of Portofino, P134. On the rocky Capo del Ferro, between Genoa and San Pierdarena, rises the Lanterna, a great lighthouse 230 FT. High, from the foot of which we obtain another extensive view. Tramway as far as the tunnel number 3, P114. From the Piazza di Ferrari, a tramway number 5 leads by the Piazza Manon, PL. I4 to the NE to the Campo Santo or Cimitero di Stagliano, which rises above the Val Bisagno on the N bank. We may take the tramway or a motor omnibus also to the Lido del Barro, a popular resort and sea bathing place below the road to Sturla and Nervi. Favorite excursions from Genoa are tramways Nos. 6 and 3 to Nervi 7.5 m to the E on the Pisa line and to Pegli 6.25 m to the W on the Ventimiglia line. Nervi has a beautiful marine parade, and at Pegli is the Villa Pallavicini. The entrance of the villa is immediately to the left of the exit from the rail. Station, Adam, on weekdays except Frid, and festivals 10-3 on Sun. And holidays 9-2 Fee 1 FR. A superb view is obtained from the Portofino Culm 1477 FT. Hot, restore, Dage, 5 D7 FR. On the Monte di Portofino P. 134. Motorom, direct from Genoa, Piazza di Ferrari, also 4 times daily from Recco Station, 13 m to the E on the Pisa line. See also Baedeker's Northern Italy. B via Algiers. M North German Lloyd on alternate Saturdays, in 3 days, to Algiers in 25 HRS. Fare 66 or 44 marks, thence to Genoa 33 HRS. Fare 77 or 55 marks. The Hamburg American and the Austrian Lloyd steamers sometimes ply between Gibraltar and Algiers. The navigation mixed usually sends steamers from Gibraltar to Oran, hence to Algiers by railway. Steamers of the German Levant Line and others also are available as far as Algiers. Agents at Gibraltar, CP 53, at Algiers, P 219, at Genoa, P 114. See also Gibraltar Chronicle. The vessel steers to the E from Gibraltar, between the Spanish coast, which remains in sight as far as the Cabo de Gata Comp. R15A, and the flat volcanic island of Alboran, 48 ft. The ancient Drinapa now belonging to Spain. The distant Sierra Nevada, P49, peeps here and there above the horizon. Off Cape Ivy Lighthouse, beyond the mouth of the Shalif, P208, we sight the Tel Atlas, P169, on the Algerian coast. We then pass the very prominent Cape Taines, P209, and beyond Churchill, P244, the massive Jebel Chenwa, P242, near which we survey the beautiful Bay of Castiglione, P237, backed by the hills of Sahel and extending to Mont Buzarea, P235. By Ras Akrata, P237, we near the coast, pass the lighthouse on the low Cape Caxine, P237, and the picturesque cliffs of Point Pescade, P237, then Saint Eugene, P236, and the Church of Notre Dame d'Afrique, P236, and enter the harbor of Algiers, P217. Leaving Algiers for Genoa, the vessel steers to the NNE, affording a fine parting view of the Bay of Algiers and the coast as far as Cape Bengut, P127. Corsica, P143, is visible in clear weather only. We near the Riviera di Ponente off Porto Maurizio, P113, and soon enter the harbor of Genoa, Comp. P113. From Gibraltar to Naples. M. Cunard Line from New York and White Star from New York or Boston, each 2 or 3 times a month in 3 days, fare 5L10s. Orient Royal from London, fortnightly. North German Lloyd from New York or Southampton, 3 or 4 times a month, 120 or 88 marks. Hamburg American Line from New York, once or twice a month. For Gibraltar and the first part of the voyage, Comp. P52 and R15A. Astern appears the majestic Sierra Nevada, P49. Steering to the ENE, we sometimes see the Algerian coast to the S from Cape Taines, P209, to the Bay of Algiers, P221, and the hills of Great Kabylia, P252. After many hours, steaming, we next sight the uninhabited rocky islet of Il Toro, off the SW coast of Sardinia, and the Golfo di Palmas, P129, between the island of San Antioco and the bold Cape Tulata, the ancient Chersonesus Promontorium, the southmost point of Sardinia. We pass the Isola Rossa Bay at some distance, then Cape Spartivento, Lighthouse, at the S end of the broad bay of Cagliari, P144, which is only distinguishable in clear weather, and the granitic Isola dei Cavalli, Lighthouse, lying off Cape Carbonara, P144. The Sardinian coast now rapidly disappears. The steamer at length nears the Bacca Grande, 15 m in width, the chief entrance to the Bay of Naples, P135, between the islands of Ischia, left, and Capri, right, with Vesuvius in the distance. The SW point of Ischia is the picturesque Punta Imperator, Lighthouse. We steer past the S side of the island, about 3 m from the Punta Sant Angelo and the Punta San Pancrazio, then past the island of Procida and the hill of Posilippo, into the harbor of Naples, P135. From Naples to Genoa, CR24. From Lisbon Tangier and from Gibraltar to Marseille. From Lisbon to Tangier and 11:50 m Marseille Naples, and Port said there are regular steamboat services from Tangier or Gibraltar to Marseille in 3 days by the German East African Line E. Circular tour, once in 3 weeks, and the Rotterdam Lloyd fortnightly. From Gibraltar to Marseille there are the Peninsular and Oriental, the Orient Royal, and other lines. Steamboat agents at Lisbon, Tangier, Gibraltar, and Marseille, CPP. 898-53-120. From Lisbon to the Straits of Gibraltar, comp. P5, Tangier P98, Gibraltar P52. The steamer skirts the Spanish coast from Gibraltar to Ibiza P112. The direct route to Marseille is through the Balearic Sea P112, and the Gulf of Lions where storms often prevail. But when the Mistral, or N-wind, blows, a more westerly course is chosen, past the volcanic Columbretes Islets lighthouse and along the coast of Catalonia. At length to the SC of the Rhone Delta, and flanked with bare limestone hills, we sight the Bay of Marseille, bounded by the Cap Curon on the left and the Cap Creuset on the right. We pass the island of Planier Lighthouse and the islands of Ratonneau, Pomègue, and If, and obtain a fine view of the Church of Notre Dame de la Garde, P122, overlooking the city. The vessels usually steer through the Avant-Port Nord and the large new Bassin National into the Bassin de la Guerre Maritime. Marseille arrival by sea. The North German Lloyd and German East African steamers anchor in the Bassin du Lazaret, PL. B1. Those of the Gaindrail Transatlantique Co. and Messageries Maritimes start from the Bassin de la Joliette, PL. B2-3. Most of the great British lines P&O, Orient Royal, Bibby, British India, etc. have their own berths, as to which careful inquiry should be made. Note that most of these are a long way from the principal railway station, 1½ m. Railway stations, the Gare St. Charles, PL. F2, the main station, is the only one for through passenger traffic. See the French indicateur as to trains, several of which run in winter only. Others correspond with the P&O and other steamers for Egypt, India, Australia, etc. Hotels mostly in noisy situations. Regina, PL. FD3, Place Sadi Carnot, Louvre and de la Paix, PL. AE4, Noailles and Métropole, PL. CE4 and Grand, PL. BF4, all in the Rue Noailles, Bristol, PL. WE4, Rue Canebière, New. These 5 are of the first class, are from 4 or 5 B1½ gauge, 4½ D5-6 FR. Petit Louvre, PL. DE4, Rue Canebière 16, Genève, PL. MD4, Rue des Templiers 3, are from 3½ B1½ gauge, 3 D4 FR, well spoken of Castile and Luxembourg, PL. EE5, Rue Saint Ferial R, from 3 B1¼ gauge, 3 D4 FR. Des Fossins, PL. IE4, Rue Thubenau 4, are from 3 B1 gauge. 3 D4 FR, Good Continental, PL. JD4, Rue Beauvau 6 are from 2½ B1 gauge, 3 D3½ FR. Near the railway station, Terminus Hotel, PL. GF2, R510 FR. Russy and Angleterre Bow, Dathines 31 PL. E3, R from 4 B1¼ gauge, 3D, 4 FR. Bordeaux and Orient, PL. KE3, same Boulevard number 11 R, from 3 B1½ gauge. 3 D3½ FR. Hotels Garnies R34 B1½ FR. GR, Nouvelle Hotel, PL. UF4 Bowel, Du Musée 10 Good Modern Hotel, PL. SD4 Rue Canebière 50, Richet du Victim Cycle, PL. VE4, same street number 1. Restaurants. La Ray Serve, Palace Hotel, Chemin de la Corniche of the first class. Isnard Hot, Des Fossins P119, de Provence Cours Belsons 12 Good. Cafés best in Rue Canebière and Rue Noailles. Brasserie de l'Univers at the Hotel Bristol P119, Strasbourg, Place de la Bourse 11. Cabs Voitures de Place, same fares by day or night. In the inner city to the Traverse de la Joliette, PL. B2 in the N and to Bowel, de la Corderie and Bowel. Notre Dame in the SW, 1-horse carriage 2 seats per drive 1½ per hour 2½ FR. 2-horse car. 4 seats 2 or 3 FR. Trunk 25 C per drive 50 C per hour. As overcharges are frequent, the tariff should be asked for. Motor cabs taximeters for 3 pers, 1 FR. For the first 800 meters, ca, a half M, 20 C each added, 400 M, 3 FR, per hour. Tramways in the town, 10 C, no transfer tickets. Among the chief are, from Place de la Joliette, PL, C2 to Bowel, Vauban, PL, D7 Notre Dame de la Garde, P122, from Quai de la Joliette to the Zoological Garden, PL, H2, Palais de Longchamp P122, from Zoological Garden to Bowel, Notre Dame PL, D6-7, lift to Notre Dame de la Garde and Bowel, Vauban PL. D7, from the Cours St. Louis PL. E4 via the Prado P122, the Corniche P122, and Endoyum back to the Cours St. Louis 15C. Equals transporter bridge equals pont transporteur PL B45 P121 between Quai de la Tourette and Bowel. Du Faro in 2 Min 5C. Equals steamboat lines equals Peninsular and Oriental Estrine and Co. Rue Colbert 18 from London to Gibraltar, Marseille, and Port Said Arrar. 1767, Orient Royal Worms & Co., Rue Grignan 28, from London to Gibraltar, Marseille, Naples, and Port Said Arrar. 1723-67. North German Lloyd W. Carr, Rue Beauvau 16, to Goletta, Tunis, and Alexandria, to Naples and Alexandria, also to Genoa, Naples, Catania, the Piraeus, Constantinople, etc., Arrar. 22, 23, 24, 67, 77, 80. German East African W. Carr, from Southampton to Lisbon, Tangier, Marseille, Naples, and Port Said Arrar. 23, 67. Bibby, Watson, and Parker, Rue Beauvau 8, from Liverpool to Marseille, Port Said, etc. R67. British India, G. Budd, Rue Beauvau 8, from Port Said to Genoa, Marseille, and London. Rotterdam Lloyd, Rise & Co., Rue de la République 29, to Port Said R67. Messageries Maritimes, Place Sadi Carnot 3, to Naples, Piraeus, Constantinople, and Beirut, Arrar. 77-75, also to Constantinople, Odessa, and Bottom, Arrar. 83-85, also to Alexandria, Port Said, and Beirut, Arrar. 67-72. Gainirel Transatlantique, Rue Noailles 15, to Oran and Cartagena, Arrar. 1918, also to Algiers, Bougie, Philippeville, and Bona, R20, also to Tunis and Malta, R21-63, and to Sfax and Susa, Arrar. 21-64. Transports Maritimes, Rue de la République 70, to Gibraltar and Madeira, R3, to Oran, R19, to Algiers, Philippeville, and Bona, R20, and to Tunis, Susa, Arrar. 22-64. Navigation Mixed Twachco, Rue Canebière 54, to Oran, R19, to Tangier via Oran, Arrar. 1918, to Algiers and Philippeville, R20, to Tunis, Sfax, and Tripoli, Arrar. 21-64, and to Palermo, Arrar. 21-26, Chargeurs Réunis Worms & Co. See above, from Dunkirk to Marseille, Genoa, and Naples for E-Indies, S. America, etc. Freycinet and Co. Place de la Bourse 6, to Ajaccio and Bastia and Leghorn. N. Paquet and Co. Place Sadi Carnot 4, to Oran if required, Tangier, and the Moroccan ocean coast R14, Campania Mallorquina to Palma, Majorca. Equals Post and Telegraph Office. Hotel des Postes, PL, D3, Rue Colbert branches at the railway station P119 at the Bourse, PL, DE4, etc. Equals Tourist agents, equals those. Cook & Son, Rue Noailles 11 bis, Lubin, Rue des Fuelants 14. Equals Banks, equals Banque de France, PL, E6, Place Estringen-Pastre, Crédit Lyonnais, Rue Saint-Fériol 25, PL, E45. Equals Consuls, equals British Consul General, M.C. Gurney, Rue des Princes 8 Vice-Consuls, T. Broadwood, F.J. Hamling. U. S. Consul General A. Gollin, Cours Pierre Puget 10, Vice-Consul, P.H. Cram. Equals English Church equals, Rue de Bellois 4, services at 10.3 and 3.3. Marseille, Fr. Marseille, the second largest city in France, with 517,500 inhab. The Massalia of the Greeks and Massilia of the Romans was founded by Greeks from Phakia, p. 530 in Asia Minor about 600 BC, and soon became one of the greatest seaports on the Mediterranean. During the Roman period, it vied with Athens as a seat of Greek culture. In the Middle Ages, it belonged to the Kingdom of Arelate, and later to the County of Provence, and in 1481 it was at length annexed to France. Being situated at the mouth of the great and time-honored route through the Rhône Valley to NW Europe, it is the most important of French and of all Mediterranean seaports. The total exports and imports are estimated at 29-26 million francs, and nearly 17 million tons of shipping enter and clear annually. The city is now almost entirely modern and destitute of historical memorials. From the Bassin du Lazaret, PL. B1 and Bassin de la Joliette, PL. B2-3, the southmost of the docks constructed since 1850 to the N.W. of the Old Town, we follow the Quai de la Joliette to the Cathedral PL. B.C.3, St. Marie Majora or La Major, situated on a terrace. This is one of the largest and finest churches of the 19th century. It was built by Baedeker in a mixed Byzantine and Romanesque style in 1852-93. Adjacent is the old Cathedral of Saint Lazare, which is shown by the sacristan of the new church. From the Place de la Major, the Esplanade de la Tourette leads to the S. To the *via port PL. C. D. 4-5, the Lacadan of the Phaeacians, a deeply indented creek, where smaller craft only are now berthed. The entrance to it is guarded by the old forts of Grastilly and Entrecasteaux. Just inside the entrance, the harbor is crossed by the Pont Transbordeur or Transporter Bridge, P120. For the sake of the view, we may ascend either to the Trolleyway Buffet Restaurant or to the top of the N Tower, steps up and down 50C, lift up 60, up and down 75C. On the N side of the Quai du Port PL. CD4, the scene of motley popular traffic, pickpockets not uncommon, lies the Old Town with its narrow and dirty streets, inhabited by the lower classes, including numerous Italians of whom the city contains about 100,000. This quay leads past the Hôtel de Ville, PL. C4, an interesting building of the 17th century, to the E end of the Via Port, where begins the Rue Canebière, PL. DE4, which for ages has been the chief boast of the city. Here on the left is the Bourse, PL. E4, erected by Cost in 1852-60. This street, prolonged by the Rue Noëls, the Allées de Mailhan, etc., intersects the city from SW to NE, and at the Cours Saint-Louis, PL. E4, the chief center of traffic, it is crossed by a straight line of streets running from NW to SE, the Cours Belsunce, Rue de Rome, and Promenade du Prado, to the Rond Point, P122, being in all nearly 3m long. The Rue Noëls, PL. E4, from the end of which the Boulevard Dugommier ascends to the railway station, and the pretty Allées de Mailhan, PL. F4, lead to the modern Gothic church of St. Vincent de Paul, PL. F3, with its two towers commanding a great part of the city. A little to the left is the Cours du Chapiter, leading into the Boulevard Longchamp, PL. GH32, a street ascending steeply to the *Palais de Longchamp PL. H2. This imposing Renaissance edifice was designed by Esperandio, the architect, 1862-9. The Ionic colonnade, with a lofty triumphal arch in the center, where a picturesque cascade has been introduced, is flanked with two wings, the right containing the Natural History Museum, and the left the Museum of Fine Art Adam, daily except Moan, and Frid. 8-12 and 2-5 or in winter 9-12 and 2-4, closed 20th 31st Jan. And 20th 31st July. The ground floor contains sculptures. In the center is the principal hall. The room on the left contains works by the Marseillais master Pierre Puget, 1600-2294. In that on the right is a model of the monument to the dead in Père Lachaise at Paris, by Bartholomé. The staircase is adorned with a wall painting by Puvis de Chavins, 1869. On the first floor is the picture gallery. Among the older pictures in the central room are 361. Nadir, Duchesse de Châteauroux, 788. Pietro Perugino, Holy Family, 914. Rubens, Boar Hunt, about 1615. In the modern department, in the room on the left, 430. J.Fr. Millet, Mother and Child, 1860. The main streets of the S quarter of the town are the Rue de Rome, which begins at the Cours Saint-Louis, P121, and a little to the W of it the handsome Cours Pierre Puget, PL. ED56, ending in the promenade of that name. A little to the S, on a bold rock of white limestone, is enthroned the church of Notre Dame de la Garde, PL. D7 532 FT. A great landmark for mariners, where we obtain the finest view of the city and its environs. Lift Ascenseur, PL D7 from the Rue Churchill up 60 down 30 return 80C on Sun, and before 9 a.m. 40, 20 or 50C. On a fine day, the traveler will be repaid by a visit to the asterisk equals Chemin de la Corniche equals Comp. PL A6, tramway P120. From Notre Dame de la Garde, it may be reached direct in about 40 min by the Chemin du Raucas Blanc. This road, partly hewn in the rock and shadeless, affords fine views. It ends near the Château Borelli, which stands in a park and now contains the Musée d'Archéologie at the Promenade du Prado, a favorite resort of the Marseillais, planted with plane trees. A gay throng may be seen here on Sunday afternoons and every fine evening. We may return thence to the town by the Rond Point du Prado. See also Baedeker's Southern France. From Marseille to Naples, CR 23. From Tangier and Cartagena to Oran. From Tangier to Oran, 301 m. Mail steamers of the navigation mixed, every wet afternoon in 52.5 HRS. Fares without food 80 and 60 FR. Via Melilla and Nemers, returning via Benisaf, Nemers, Melilla and Tetuan. Also cargo steamers via Malaga, Melilla and Nemers in 3-4 days, leaving Tangier every second Tuesday Malaga Wed. Also steamers of the Hungarian Adria, fare, without food 30 FR. Agents at Tangier, CP98. At Malaga, P89. At Oran, P176. From Cartagena to Oran, 132 m. Comp. Gainerail Transatlantique every 2s, in 9 HRS. Fares without food 50 and 35 FR. Pier dues at Cartagena 3 or 2 FR. Agent J. M. Pellegrin, Plaza de la Aduana 1, at Oran, P176. This is the shortest sea route to Algiers and is recommended to those who are bad sailors. Passport necessary. Steering from Tangier, P98, to the ENE through the Straits of Gibraltar, the vessel passes Cape Malabada, P57, Cape Albosa, and the fine shore of the Cala Grande, to which the Rio de las Ostras descends from the Sierra San Simonito, a branch of the Angera MTS. P103. In the little bay on the east side of the Punta Alcazar, scarcely visible from the sea, lie the ruins of Qasr Sarir, a small seaport founded by Yaqub ibn Yusuf, P61, which prospered in the later Middle Ages and belonged to the Portuguese from 1448 to 1540. Off Cape Cirrus, P5, the steamer nears the abrupt slopes of the Sierra Bullons, P103, and then passes the Isla del Perejil, 243 ft, which is overgrown with underwood and contains a large grotto, Grotto de las Palomas, visited from Ceuta. Beyond Cape Leona and the Bay of Benzis, the region of Ceuta, P103, is reached. Fine view of the Bay of Algeciras, P56, and the Rock of Gibraltar to the N. After passing the Bay of Ceuta and the N and E headlands of the peninsula of Almena, P103, the Punta Santa Catalina, P5, and the Punta de la Almena lighthouse, we obtain an admirable view of the Moroccan coast, extending from the Sierra Bullons, P103, to the finely shaped Jebel Beni Hassan. In the center, between Cabo Negro, P103, and Cabo Mazari, is the deep depression of the plain of Tetuan, P102, where the steamers of the navigation mixed call on their voyage to Tangier only. The vessel now steers to the ESE, towards Cape Tres Forcas, quite apart from the Rif coast, a hill region inhabited by the Ruafa Sing, Rifi and still forming part of the Blad E Siba, P96. It lies between the Wad Waringa, the river bounding the province of Tetuan, and Cape Tres Forcas. In the Bay of Alhucemas rise the rocky islets of Peñón de Vélez de la Gomera and Islas del Husama, with 2 Spanish presidios. The Bitoya, the stretch of coast with its numerous creeks between Cape Quilates, on the east side of the Alhucemas Bay, and Cape Tres Forcas, was for centuries the favorite haunt of the Rif pirates, P96. Beyond the wedge-like Cape Tres Forcas, the ancient Seschiria Promontorium, Arabic Ras Wark, jutting out 12.5 m seaward, we sight the long coastline of the Bay of Melilla, into which the steamers from Malaga, passing some 20 m to the W of the island of Alboran, P. 117, steer direct. Melilla equals hot. De Asia, Fonda la Africana, both at the harbor and plain, or Melilla, a town of 9,000 in Hab. The only Mediterranean port on the Morocco coast besides Ceuta and Tetuan lies most picturesquely on the spurs of Monte Melilla or Karamu, 3235 ft. A little to the n of the marshy, fever-stricken mouth of the Rio del Oro. Its site is probably that of the ancient Rusadir, p95, where ended the great Roman military road, about 1430 m long, which connected Carthage with Mauritania. Melilla is the oldest Spanish possession in Morocco, having been captured in 1496. In 1774, it was unsuccessfully besieged by a Moroccan army, and in 1893, it resisted an attack by the Berbers of the Rif. Being a free port, it carries on a brisk trade with the coast towns of the Algerian province of Oran, and many Moroccans from the interior embark here on their way to the harvesting in Algeria. The larger steamers anchor in the roads, which are tolerably sheltered from the W, winds only, landing or embarkation 50°C. New harbor works, however, are now under construction. The drinking water of Melilla is not good. Melilla consists of the small and tidy new town which has been built near the harbor since 1893 and contains a covered market, the shops of the Spanish, Jewish, and Moorish tradesmen, and the promenade, and of the remarkably clean old town, enclosed by lofty walls, and occupying the nearly square plateau of a rocky headland. From projecting parts of the town wall, a fine view is obtained of the Fort Rosario, which is separated from the old town by the small Galapago Bay, and of the broad bay extending to the Chafarinas Islands, see below. In the background, beyond the Mar Chica or Lago de Puerto Nuevo, Arabic Sebka Buerg, a shallow lake 13 m long, appears the lofty chain of Jebel Kebdana with the Monte de Tessin, 3275 ft. Continuing our voyage, we pass the Chafarinas Islands, French Isles Zaffarines, occupied by the Spanish since 1848, which lie off the Cabo del Agua and form the only safe harbor on this coast as far as Oran. On the Isla Isabel II, the central island, rises a lighthouse visible at a distance of 20 m. We pass the mouth of the Muluya, p93, the ancient Malacha, or Mulachath, which separated the provinces of Mauritania Tingitana and Mauritania Caesariensis, p244, and was in the Middle Ages the boundary between the kingdoms of Fez and Tlemcen, p188. Beyond it, rising above the thickly peopled coastplain of Tazageret, rises the chain of Jebel Beni Snassin, p197, which belongs geologically to the Algerian Tel Atlas, p169. The political frontier between Morocco and Algeria is formed by the Brook Oud Kiss or Adjuraud, comp. p169, near which, on the little Baia de Juraud, and not far from Cape Melonia, lies the French seaport of Portsay or Adjuraud. In calm weather the steamers call at the Bay of Nemers p198, enclosed by the spurs of the Traras MTS, p198, landing or embarkation 1 fr. They then pass Cape Torsa and Cape Nae, where the plateau of Mont Tadjara, 2592 ft. is sighted, and steer to the N.E. towards Cape Figalo at some distance from the little port of Honin. Here the iron ore of Rar El Madin is exported. The lighthouse on the island of Rachgaun, opposite the mouth of the Tafna, p185, and the port of Beni, Saf, p185. To the NE, beyond Cape Figalo, appear the Isles Habibas lighthouse, surrounded by reefs, and then, beyond Cape Lindless, the uninhabited Little Isle Plain. Beyond Cape Falcon lighthouse, p184, we survey the broad Gulf of Oran, p126, as far as the point de El Aigle. Immediately to the right, in the fertile plain des Andalouses, lies the village of Ain et Turk, p184. Then, beyond the spurs of the Jebel Santin, the harbor of Mers el Kabir, p183, with a fort and lighthouse, entrance to the harbor of Oran, comp. p175. Cartagena Hot. De Francia y de Paris, Cal de Asuna and Plaza de la Aduana, Hot Ramos, Plaza de Perfumo 8, Brit, Vice Cons, J.C. Gray, U.S., Cons, Agent A.J. Marks, Pop. 41,300, founded by Hasdrubal in 221 B.C. The best natural harbor on the Spanish Mediterranean coast is now the chief harbor of the Spanish Navy. It is reached by express from Madrid in 14 HRS, sleeping car on Mon, Wed, and Frid, 21 P25 C. Extra. The railway station lies to the NE of the town, not far from Mule do Alfonso Duodecimo, the quay, where the steamers are berthed. A charming view of the town and the bay is obtained from the Castillo de la Concepcion, 230 ft, a ruined castle on a hill. The entrance to the inner harbor, which is closed by the Dique de la Cura lighthouse, is guarded by two forts situated on bold volcanic rocks, the Castillo de las Galeras, 656 ft, on the W, and the Castillo de San Julián on the E, 919 ft. The outer bay is protected on the SC by the little island of Escambura, the ancient Scambraria. The Oran steamboats, soon after leaving Cartagena, steer due S, affording a retrospect of the lighthouses of Cabo Tinoso to the W and Cape Palos, P112, to the E, and they usually enter the Gulf of Oran, P126, before dawn, from Marseille to Oran. M steamboat lines agents at Marseille, CP120, at Oran, P176. Comp. Général Transatlantique, rapide on Thurs, and SAT, aft. In reverse direction twos and thurs, in 41 HRS, fare 81 or 59 FR, transports maritimes twos, returning SAT, in 38 HRS, 75 or 55 FR, cargo boat Frid. Returning twos, in 46 HRS, 60 or 40 FR. Navigation mixed Twatch Co. Wed returning SAT, in 54 HRS, 60 or 40 FR. Travelers in S France may take a steamer of the navigation mixed from Set, a Seaport 90M to the W of Marseille, to Port Vendors and Oran Thurs. Night, in 45 HRS, fare 90 or 65 FR. Marseille and its harbor, CP 119. Steering out into the Gulf of Lions and the Balearic Sea, the steamers at first either follow the same course as those to Gibraltar, R17, or a more easterly course, past Majorca and Dragonera, P112, towards the rock-bound strait between Ibiza, P112, and the flat island of Formentera, the southmost of the Balearic group. In passing, we obtain a fine view of the town of Ibiza, with its old castle and loftily situated cathedral. See Baedeker's Spain and Portugal. Nearing the Algerian coast, we first sight the range of hills culminating in Jebel Oruz, P199, which separates the bays of Arzu, P199, and Oran. Entering the outer Gulf of Oran, we survey its full extent from the point de El Aigle to Cape Carbon, P264. On the left rises the curiously shaped Jebel Kahar or Montagne des Lions, P184. In the foreground, in the inner bay bounded by Point Canestel and the headland of Mers el Kabir, P183, lies the town of Oran, with the old fort of Santa Cruz rising high above it, P175. From Marseille to Algiers, Bougie, Philippeville, and Bona. Steamers agents at Marseille, CP 120, at Algiers, P219, at Bougie, P262, at Philippeville, P304, at Bona, P309. Equals 1, equals comp. Général Transatlantique from Marseille to Algiers, 463 m, rapid mail steamers on Sun, twos, Wed and Frid. At noon, returning Sun, twos, Thurs, Frid. At noon in 26.5 HRS. From Marseille to Bougie, 455 m, twos, noon returning Sat, evening in 37.5 HRS. From Marseille to Philippeville, 455 m, Sat, noon returning Frid, noon in 30 HRS. From Marseille to Bona, 462 m, twos, aft, returning twos, night in 31 HRS. Fares by the mail steamers to Algiers 96 or 69 FR. For the other three routes 81 or 59 FR. Equals 2, equals transports maritimes from Marseille to Algiers and back, Wed and Sat, aft in 35 HRS, fare 70 or 45 FR, to Philippeville Bougie, Sat, aft, returning Wed noon in 36 HRS, fare 60 or 40 FR, to Bona Mon, returning Thurs, aft, in 37 HRS, fare 60 or 40 FR. Equals 3 equals navigation mixed Twatch Co. from Marseille to Algiers rapide on Thurs, noon returning Sat, noon in 32 HRS, fare 75 or 50 FR, direct cargo boat on Mon, aft, returning Frid, noon in 36 HRS, fare 60 or 40 FR, to Philippeville Bona mail steamer on Thurs, noon returning Mon noon in 33 HRS, fare 75 or 50 FR. Cheap steamers to Algiers are the cargo boats of Kalal and Duvia, 50 or 30 FR, and of Prosper Durand, 40 or 25 FR. Less frequented routes are those of the navigation mixed from Set, 90 m to the W of Marseille, to Port Vendors and Algiers, Sat Night, 42 HRS, 90 or 65 FR. The Spanish Campania Mallorquina P. 120 from Marseille and Barcelona to Palma and Algiers twice monthly, passport necessary, and the Comp. Gainerail transatlantique cargo boats between Ajaccio and Bona Thurs. Evening, in 3038 HRS. 60 or 50 FR. Marseille, CP 119. The Algiers steamer usually passes close to the east side of the island of Minorca, the eastmost of the Balearic group, where, in daylight, the deeply indented natural harbor of Man, the chief town, specially attracts attention. When the sea is rough, the course is sometimes more westerly, past Cape Minorca Lighthouse, the W extremity of the island, while inland on the flat coast lies the town of Ciudadela. The vessel then passes at some distance from the Cabo de Piedra Lighthouse, and from the hilly SE coast of Majorca, which is famed for its stalactite caverns, see Baedeker's Spain and Portugal. At length, in clear weather, we obtain a glorious asterisk view of the Algerian coast, from the hills of Cape Bengut Lighthouse to the E, and the Jurjura chain and the Tel Atlas to the SE, both snow-clad in winter, to the wooded hill country of Sahel, culminating in Mont Bouzarea and Cape Caxain Lighthouse. To the W we now enter the fine Bay of Algiers, P 221, bounded by Cape Matafu Lighthouse, on the NE and the cliffs of the Point Pescade on the NW. And survey its whole expanse. To the left, in the Midija Plain, between Cape Matafu and the sandhills at the mouth of the Harech, lies Fort Duello, a sea-bathing place. Beyond the Harech, on the hill, stands the Church of Cuba. Farther along the coast, among the houses of Hassindé and Belcourt, lies the Jardin d'Essai, backed by the gardens of Mustapha Superior. Behind the harbor of Algiers rises the high terrace wall of the boulevards. Then, above the new town, the white houses and lanes of the Kasbah on the spurs of the hill crowned with the Fort El Empereur. Lastly, on the slope of the Bouzarea Hill, between the NW suburbs Bab El Oud and Saint Eugene, appears Notre Dame d'Afrique, the Mariners' Church. Arrival in the harbor, CP 217. On the voyage from Marseille to Bougie, the course is more easterly, out of sight of the Balearic Islands. The tedium of the voyage is at length compensated for near the Algerian coast by an imposing asterisk view of the mountains of Kabylia, which after a snowfall in winter have quite an alpine charm. To the W, between Cape Sigli and Cape Carbon, P 264, lies the abrupt and almost uninhabited coast of Great Kabylia, overtopped by the lofty Jebel Arbalou, P 262. To the S, behind the fine curved outline of the Gulf of Bougie, P 130, and beyond the plain of the Saumin Valley, rise the heights of Little Kabylia with the deep depression of the Agrion Valley, and to the SE, the serrated range of Jebel Tababer, 6460 FT. To the E, beyond Cape Cavallo, stretches the hill region of Jejeli. In the NE angle of the bay, on the S slope of the Jebel Guria, but long concealed by the three spurs of that mountain, Cape Carbon, P 264, Cape Noir, and Cape Bouac with its lighthouse, lies most picturesquely the quiet seaport of Bougie, embosomed in luxuriant evergreen vegetation, P 262. The crossing to Philippeville is specially recommended to travelers bound for Biskra direct, as they thus avoid the long railway journey from Algiers. The broad Gulf of Stora, with its numerous headlands and creeks and its beautiful wooded hills, presents a charming picture, especially in spring. In the background, in a pleasant creek, lies Philippeville, P 304. In passing through the outer harbor, we obtain a good view of the town. On the voyage to Bona, the first land sighted on the Algerian coast is the lofty Mount Edo, 3307 FT. P 169, the spurs of which extend to the NW to the Cap de Fer, P 131. The steamers then enter the Gulf of Bona, bounded on the W by the Cap de Garde lighthouse, the NE spur of MT, Edo, and on the E by Cape Rosa, P 131. On the S margin of the bay, above the marshy alluvial plain of the Sabaus and the Oud Mafrag, rise the peaks of the Tel Atlas. On the W side of the Gulf, between the spurs of the Edo, lies Bona, P 309, one of the most important and most beautiful seaports of Barbary, with rich verdure all around. Before entering the Grand Harbor commanded by the hill of the Kasbah, we view the Cornish Road, P 311, while on the low hill of Hippo, to the s of the town, rises the church of St. Augustine, p. 312. From Marseille to Tunis. M. Steamboats, agents at Marseille, CP 120, at Tunis, p. 331, equals 1, equals North German Lloyd from Marseille to Goleta, Alexandria, every second wed forn. Returning sat, even, in 30.5 HRS, 90 or 60 marks, equals 2 equals comp. Gainerel transatlantique from Marseille to Tunis direct, Malta, R63, Mon, at noon, returning Frid. Aft, in 31.5 HRS. 96 or 69 FR. Via Bizerta to Tunis, Sfax and Sousa, R64, Frid, at noon, returning Wed, in 41 HRS. 81 or 59 FR. Equals 3, equals navigation mixed Twachco from Marseille to Tunis direct, Sfax and Tripoli, R64, rapid mail steamer Wed at noon, returning Mon. Afternoon, in 39 HRS. 75 or 50 FR. Cargo boat via Bizerta to Tunis, Palermo, R26, sat, evening, returning Thurs, at noon, in 49 HRS. 60 or 40 FR. Marseille, CP 119. After remaining for some time in view of the coast of Provence as far as Cape Sissier, Comp. P 132, the vessel steers to the SE and loses sight of land. Off the Isola di Mal di Venter, we may catch a glimpse of the peninsula of Sinis, which lies on the end side of the large Gulf of Oristano, on the W coast of Sardinia, and at whose S end once lay the Phoenician colony of Tharos. The bare and monotonous hills of the W coast, with the well-known lead and zinc mines of the Iglesiant, the region round Iglesias, are only visible in clear weather. The steamer rounds the islands of San Pietro and San Antioco, P 118, with its capital of the same name on the e-coast, occupying the site of the Phoenician Sulci. We pass the Golfo di Palmas, with the uninhabited islets of La Vaca, Il Vitalo, and Il Toro, P 118, and then Cape Tulata, P 118, after which Sardinia is soon lost to view. To the SW appears the distant Isle de la Galette, P 132. Then, on the coast of Tunisia, we descry the low spurs of the Tel Atlas, P 320, with the headlands of Ras El Quran, Ras Angela Lighthouse, the northmost point of the African continent, Cap Blanc Lighthouse, the Promontorium Candidum of Antiquity, and Cap de Bizert or Cap Guardia, 853 FT. Lighthouse. To the SE, another lighthouse marks the rocks of Icani. Some steamers call at Bizerta, P 352. The others steer to the left, past the Cani and the island of Palau, P 132, towards the little Isle Plain Lighthouse, which lies off Cape Farina, Arabic Ras Tarf, the ancient Promontorium Apollines, where we come in sight of the broad Gulf of Tunis, with the island of Zembra, P 153, in the background. We now cross the Bay of Utica, P 353, to the S, which since ancient times has been largely filled up with the deposits of the Medjerda, P 320, pass Cape Camart, P 351, and La Marsa, P 351, and then reach the picturesque Cape Carthage, P 351, with its lighthouse and the sea baths and white houses of Sidi Bou Said. We now enter the inner Bay of Tunis, commanded on the E by Jebel Corbis, P 364, and on the S by Jebel Boukornan, P 363, Jebel Resses, P 358, and Jebel Zagwan, P 359. We pass close to the castle hill of Carthage, P 344, crowned with the cathedral, the sea baths of Lacram, Caradine, and Goulet Neuve, P 344, and reach Goleta or La Golette. P 343, a small seaport, situated on the tongue of land separating the Lac de Tunis or Lac Bahira, P 332, from the open sea. The steamer here enters the canal, 5.5 m long, 110 ids, wide and about 20 ft, deep, constructed across the lake in 1893, where we have a good view of the white houses of Tunis. On the right lies the island of Chicli, with relics of a castle built by Emp. Charles V. The surface of the lake is sometimes enlivened by flamingos. The steamer, at half speed, takes another hour to reach Tunis, P 329. From Algiers to Tunis by sea. M steamers touching at intermediate ports, 469 m, agents at Algiers, CP 219, at Bougie, P 262, at Philippeville, P 304, at Tunis, P 331, equals 1, equals comp. Gainerel transatlantique cargo boat Wed. Evening via Bougie, Jijeli, Calo, Philippeville, Bona, Lacal, Tabarka, and Bizerta arrives at Tunis sun. Aft. Returning sat. Noon arrives at Algiers wed morn. 100 or 80 fr. Pierdues at Tunis 4 or 3 fr. Equals 2, equals German Levant line, twice or thrice a month, generally calling at Lacal. Equals 3, equals Hungarian Adriaco, cargo boat twice a month to Tunis direct. Or the voyage may be pleasantly divided as follows: Marseille steamer of Comp. Gain, transatlantique from Algiers to Bougie Frid, evening in 10 HRS, 25 or 18 FR. Marseille steamer of Transports Maritimes Co., from Bougie to Philippeville 2s, afternoon in 12 HRS, 18 or 12 FR. Marseille steamer of navigation mixed from Philippeville to Bona sat, forenoon in 5 HRS, 10 or 8 FR. From Bona to Bizerta by cargo boat as above or by railway, from Bizerta to Tunis by Marseille steamer of the Comp. Gain, transatlantique, P128, sat night in 5 HRS, 15 or 12 FR. The small coasting steamers of Prosper Durand of Marseille and of the Lignes Côtières Algériennes, which call at most of the ports as far as Bona, can only be recommended for short voyages by daylight. The coast scenery between Algiers and Tunis is exceedingly picturesque and varied, but the voyage is often very trying for bad sailors. Storms are most frequent between Jijeli and Calo, and between Lacal and Bizerta, and fogs are not uncommon, even in summer. Algiers, CP 217. As the steamer leaves the harbor, a beautiful asterisk view is obtained astern of the town and of the coast as far as the Point Pescade, Comp. P 127. Beyond Cape Matafu, the coast, overlooked by the serrated Jebel Bouzegza, P 249, recedes for a time from view. Near Jebel Jinnit, P 253, beyond the sandhills at the mouth of the Isser, P 253, begins the bold rock-bound coast of Great Kabylia, 87 m in length, with its headlands and cliffs worn by the surf, its secluded little seaports, and its hillsides carefully cultivated by the natives. We pass the mouth of the Sebiao, P 253, the largest stream in Kabylia, and Cape Bengut, P 254, which affords scanty protection against the W winds to the port of Delhi's, P 254. Then Tigzert, P 255, Cape Tedlis, and Port Guidon or Aisfoun lighthouse. With its roadstead open towards the W. Next comes the wildest and loneliest part of the coast, between Cape Corbelan and Cape Carbon. We pass Cape Sigli, the Point Timri Entgerfa, where Jebel Arbalu, P 262, comes in sight, and Cape Bulama. Beyond the little Isle Pisan or Jeribia, overlooked by the steep slopes of Jebel Guria, P 265, the steamer rounds Cape Carbon, P 264, passes Cape Noir and Cape Bouac, and enters the harbor of Bougie, P 262. The Gulf of Bougie, in winter the finest part of this coast, presents many superb scenes, Comp. 128, notably as we look back at the town of Bougie climbing the slope of Jebel Guria. Near Cape Cavallo, in the E part of Little Kabylia, the summits of Jebel Hadid, 4780 ft, and Emsid Echta, 5072 ft, are specially prominent. We next pass the curiously shaped hill in the Isle du Grand Cavallo, the Petit Cavallo, and the headland Raz of Fia, lighthouse, and reach the little seaport of Jijeli P 267, pleasantly situated at the foot of green hills, where the steamers anchor in the open roads, landing or embarkation a half fr. If time permit, the Vigi should be visited. The vessel now steers to the Eni. At some distance from the coast, we pass the mouths of the Oud Nil and the Oud El Kabir, the ancient boundary between Mauritania and Numidia, and then the Ras Asia, lighthouse, fine view of the Bougueroun MTS. Commonly called Sahel de Calo, famed for their forest of cork trees. Near Cape Bougueroun or Bougueroni Lighthouse, the northmost point of Algeria, opens the broad Gulf of Stora, P 128, bounded on the E, by the Cap de Fer, see below. On the W bank of the Gulf, in the little bay of Calo, and between the peninsula of Djerda Lighthouse and the Ras Frau, lies the small seaport of Calo Grand Hotel Port, important only for the export of cork, the ancient Chulu or Colonia Minervia Chulu, one of the 4 coloniae circenses, P 298, in a fertile hill region. From the harbor landing or embarkation 30C, we walk round the asterisk peninsula, planted with vines and cacti, and overgrown on the end side with underwood, and affording splendid views of the Gulf. Steering to the E, we now skirt the coast, where the Cape El Kala or Ras Bibai, 535 ft. Rising abruptly on both sides, specially strikes the eye and past the point Esra and the bay of that name. By the islet of Eskrigina Lighthouse, which lies in front of the point Akmers or Eskrigina, opens the inner bay of Stora, bounded by Jebel Filfila, a mountain rich in marble, while in the background lies the harbor of Philippeville P 304. On the any margin of the Gulf, beyond the plain of the Oud el Kabir with its border of sandhills, rise the spurs of Mont Edo, P 128. The steamer next rounds the almost insular Cap de Fer, 1148 ft. Lighthouse, where we again view the whole expanse of the Gulf and passes Cape Taukuch, which shelters the Bay of Herbalin, lighthouse from the W and NW winds. We now steer to the ESE, past the bare Jebel Gwari, 1880 ft. Cape Axon, and the dark rock of the Voile Noir, 213 ft. Towards the Cap de Garde, P 128, which projects in front of the Gulf of Bona. 3 hours steaming from Bona, past the low Cape Rosa, whose light is seen 30 m away, brings us to the open roads of La Calle Hotel, where landing is impossible in rough weather. Beyond the rock of Kef Mechtab, 591 ft. And a little short of Cape Rue, which is crowned with a ruined tower, and like Cape Rosa was once famed for its coral reefs, runs the frontier of Tunisia. The wooded hills rising abruptly from the sea belong to the region of the Kraumery, P 326, so often mentioned in the recent history of the country. Tabarka P 327, the next port, lies picturesquely in a bay behind the island of Tabarka with its ruined Genoese castle. Again steering to the Eni, we pass a range of high sandhills and the mouth of the Oud Zwara, where we have a glimpse of the Nefsa MTS, P 328. Off Cape Negro appears in clear whether the coral-girt Isle de la Galette, 1290 ft. The Calatha of Antiquity, about 24 m to the N, W, of Cape Serret Lighthouse, where the ramifications of the Magad MTS approach the coast. Beyond the cliffs of the Two Fratelli and the Ras Al Dukhara, we round the Bizerta Hills, the northmost part of the African coast, with the 4 headlands Ras El Quran, Ras Angela, Cape Blanc, and Cape de Bizert, P 129. As we near the bay of Bizerta P 352, fringed with low olive-clad hills, we descry, far to the SW, the Jebel Iqyal, P 352. Steaming farther to the E, we observe the Cani, P 129 on the left, and pass Ras Zebib, where the green island of Palau, 377 ft, becomes visible in the foreground. To the right, on the end slope of Jebel Nader, P 354, covered far up with sea sand, lies the highly picturesque Arab village of Metline. For the voyage from Cape Farina to Tunis, see P 129, from Marseille to Naples. Via Genoa 615 m steamboat lines, =1, Orient Royal Mail fortnightly on the way from London to Port Said. =2, North German Lloyd for Naples and Alexandria wet afternoon in 33 HRS. 170 marks, for Genoa, Naples, Catania, Piraeus, Smyrna, Constantinople, Odessa, bottom, every other frid. Afternoon in 3 days 80 or 56 marks. =3, German East African to Naples and Port Said every third sat. In 2 days, returning from Naples every third wed 80 or 60 marks. =4, Messageries Maritimes to Naples, Piraeus, Smyrna, Constantinople, Beirut, RR. 77 80, 75 every second thurs. 100 or 70 FR. =5, Chargeurs Réunis, Tour du Monde, twice quarterly via Genoa to Naples, Colombo, Asia, San Francisco, etc. =6, Hungarian Adriaco, cargo boats Sun. Forenoon, via Genoa to Naples in 4 days, Palermo, Malta. Also wet afternoon to Nice, Genoa, and Naples in 4.5 days, Palermo, Messina. Fare, without food, 42 FR. The steamers of the P&O and Rotterdam Lloyd companies go from Marseille to Port Said direct. Marseille and departure from its harbor, CP 119. The steamers run to the ESC, between Cap Creuset and the Isle du Planier, p. 119, past the Isle Mare, Isle Jarros, and Isle Rio to the Straits of Bonifacio. Fine view of the richly varied coast of Provence as far as the peninsula of Cape Sisier, with the bays of Cassis and La Ciotat, the latter of which is overlooked by the rock called the Bec de l'Aigle. In the background, beyond the bare limestone rocks on the coast, appears the chain de Lusty. Baum 3786 ft. Famed for its ancient forest, the property of the state. Beyond Cape Sisier and the Bay of Toulon, we pass the steep rocky Coast of Porquerolles lighthouse, the largest and westmost of the Isles de Hyères, the ancient Stochades Insulae. After a sail of several hours more, Corsica, p. 143, with its high mountains, is sighted towards the in the distance lies the Bay of Ajaccio, where at night the lights on the Isles Sanguinaires may be descried. We next pass the Gulf of Valenco, and at Cape Aquila or Senatosa, lighthouse, we approach the SW coast of Corsica, fringed with numerous bays and creeks. Off the rocks called Les Moines, Monasai, we sight, to the left, the Montagny de Cagna, 4518 ft, which is usually covered with snow in winter. The passage of the Straits of Bonifacio, between Corsica and Sardinia, is very beautiful when the light is favorable. At the narrowest part, between Cape Pertusato and Punta del Falcone, they are 7 m wide. Between the lighthouses of Capo di Fino and Capo Pertusato, amid fissured limestone rocks honeycombed with caverns, rises a headland crowned with the gray old Genoese citadel and the white houses of Bonifacio. Opposite to it, on the end coast of Sardinia, is the peninsula of Capo Testa, and near the Punta del Falcone lies the narrow bay of Longo Sardo, with the little port of Santa Teresa di Galera. Beyond the town rise the hills of the Galera in terraces, stretching far away to the Monte di Limbara, 4469 ft. On the S.E., the horizon is bounded by a girdle of granitic islands and rocks, the Insulae Cunicularii, Rabbit Islands of Pliny, which imperil navigation, especially as they are washed with a strong current from the Tyrrhenian Sea. The steamers pass through the Bocca Grande, between the lighthouses on the French island of Lavesey and the Italian Isola dei Razzelli. To the right, beyond the islets of Santa Maria and Isola dei Budelli, appears the island of Madalna, on which rise a signaling station and the fort of Guardia Vecchia, 545 ft. This island, the largest of the group, is connected with its neighbors Santo Stefano and Capora, 696 ft. Once the residence of Garibaldi, d. 1882, by roads built on embankments, and has been converted into one of the strongest fortresses on the Mediterranean in emulation of Porto Vecchio in Corsica and of Bizerta. Beyond Capora, and adjoining the deeply indented bay of Arsacina, appears the reddish Capo di Ferro, the NW point of Sardinia. We now steer across the Tyrrhenian Sea to the ESC, towards the Ponza Islands, p. Roman 31. We first pass the volcanic NW group, Pomerola, the ancient Pomeria, Ponza, 929 ft. Ponchi, once a Roman colony, with the lighthouse of Punta della Guardia and Zanon, Sinonia. Beyond Labat, a rock dreaded by sailors, begins the SE group, first Ventotene, the well-known pandateria of the Romans, to which Julia, Agrippina, and Octavia were banished, and then the islet of Santo Stefano, lighthouse. In the distance appear the Monte Epomeo and the lighthouse on the Punta Imperator in the island of Ischia, p. 118. Approach to the Bay of Naples, CP 135. From Naples to Alexandria and Port Said, CR 67, to Athens, Smyrna, and Constantinople, CR 77, from Genoa to Naples. M Steamboat Lines agents at Genoa, CP 114, at Naples, P 137, equals 1, equals Cunard, New York and Trieste line, once monthly to Naples. Equals 2, equals White Star for New York or Boston, once monthly to Naples, 3L. 5S, equals 3, equals North German Lloyd for New York, 2 or 3 times a month in 21 HRS. Also for Port Said every second Thurs. To Naples in about 24 HRS. Also Mediterranean Levant service for Catania, Piraeus, Smyrna, Constantinople, RR. 23, 27, 77, 80 every second SAT in about 26 HRS. 70.4 or 48.2 marks. Equals 4. Equals Hamburg American for New York, once or twice monthly to Naples 80 FR. equals 5, equals Sociedad Nacional, line Roman 20 every wed night to Naples and Messina, etc., circular trip comp, P142 in 33 HRS, 52 or 34 FR, lines V, X, and Z every Moan, and 2s, to Leghorn and Naples in 42-48 HRS, 63 or 42 FR, line I monthly to Naples for Port Said and Bombay, equals 6, equals Levalos to Naples for Tenerife and S America, comp, P114, equals 7, equals Lloyd Sabato 1 3 times monthly to Naples, Palermo and New York, equals 8, equals Italian Lloyd 1 3 times monthly to Naples and New York, equals 9, equals Hungarian Adriaco, comp, R23, 2s and SAT. To Naples in 36 HRS, fare, without food, 24 FR. Genoa, CP 113. In departing, we survey and clear whether the whole of the Gulf of Genoa. On the left lies the Riviera di Levante, as far as the Monte di Portofino, 2,000 ft. P 117. On the right are the Ligurian Alps, snow-capped in winter, and the Riviera di Ponente as far as Cape Meal, P 113. The vessel steers for the island of Gorgona, see below, passing Monte di Portofino at a distance of 6 or 7 m, and then gradually leaves the coast. The last place visible is Chiavari on the beautiful bay of Rapallo. Beyond the headland of Punta del Mesco, where the slopes of the Cinque Terre, a famous wine country, descend abruptly to the sea, appear the rocky islet of Tino, 302 ft. Lighthouse, and the fortified island of Palmeria, 614 ft. At the S point of the Gulf of Spezia, the distant pinnacles of the Apuan Alps are seen in clear weather. Of Leghorn, P 143, where some of the Italian steamers call, the lights only are visible at night. The islands of Gorgona and Capria, P 143, lie on the right. Behind the latter sometimes peep the mountains of Corsica, P 143. From the Ligurian we now pass into the Tyrrhenian Sea, either through the Strait of Piombino, between the port of Piombino and the rocky islet of Palmiola, or through the Palmiola Strait, between that islet, lighthouse, and Elba, P 143. By Falonica, near Piombino, some furnaces, where iron from Elba is smelted, gleam through the night. Beyond the bay of Porto Ferreo and Capo della Vita, the NE point of Elba, are seen near Rio Marina the reddish-black hills where the iron ore comes to the surface. Farther to the S is seen the depression of the bay of Porto Longan. The promontory of Castiglione, in the midst of the marshy Maremma Toscana, and the small group of the islands of Formic di Grosseto remain some way to the left. The steamer then passes through a strait between the steep headland of Monte Argentario, 2083 ft, and the island of Giglio, 1634 ft, each with its lighthouse. On the right lies the islet of Genutri, 305 ft. Steering towards the seaport of Civitavecchia and Cape Lanero, we see the distant Maremma di Roma, backed by the volcanic Tulfa MTS, 2011 ft. Above the Roman Campagna rise the Sabine and Alban MTS, followed by the Volscian MTS, Monte Lepini, and the Monte Circio, 1775 ft. In the Pontine Marshes. Farther on, we obtain a glimpse of Terracina, the distant hills on the Gulf of Garda, and to the SW, the Ponza Islands, P 133. In the foreground, we next sight Vesuvius and the island of Ischia with Monte Epomeo, 2589 ft. By which Capri is at first concealed. The steamers usually pass between Ischia and Procida, but sometimes through the Strait of Procida, between that island and Cape Messino. The Bay of Naples, which we now survey in its full expanse, from the Bay of Pozzuoli and the hill of Posilippo to the peninsula of Sorrento, P 154, is strikingly picturesque. Naples, arrival by sea. The Mediterranean and New York steamers of the North German Lloyd and those of the Sociedad Nacional are berthed at the Immacolatella Nuova, PL. GH5. Passengers by other steamers are landed at that quay by boat, those from the Lloyd and Orient Royal lines free of charge by steam tender or boat respectively, from others by rowing boat 1 FR, with luggage but bargain advisable. Travelers should be on their guard against boatmen wearing the jerseys of well-known steamboat lines, though not employed by these companies. Porter Facchino for small valise 40, trunk 80C. The railway station, Stazione Central PL H3 lies at the E. End of the city, 12 min from the Immacolatella Nuova C above, and a 3 m from most of the hotels. Here arrive all the express trains from the north, such as those from Verona 18 a 20 a quarter HRS, from Milan 17 HRS, from Turin 17 a 22 a half HRS, and from Venice 20 HRS. As the delivery of luggage is a slow process, the traveler who is willing to pay somewhat more may drive straight to his hotel without it and have it sent later. Porter, facchino, for each small package 15, for each trunk 25 C. Equals hotels equals often full in spring. Of the very first class, Bertolini's Palace Hotel, PL, PC6 in the Parco Greifio with lift from the Corso Vittorio Emanuele, 245 FT, R from 6 Jan May 10 FR, B2 Dage, 5 D8 FR. Excelsior PL, OF7 via Partnope 24 R from 6 B2 Dage, 5 D7 FR. New, Grand Hotel PL. DB7 Piazza Principe di Napoli near the sea at the W end of the Villa Nazionale, P141, R from 6 B1 3/4 Dage, 4 1/2 D7 FR. In the higher quarters with beautiful views, Corso Vittorio Emanuele 168, * Bristol PL. A D6, R from 4 B1 1/2 Dage, 4 D6 FR. Number 135 Parker's PL, BC6, R510 B1 1/2 Dage, 3 1/2 D5 1/2 FR. Adjacent number 133 Macpherson's Hot, Britannique PL, QC6 R46 Jan April 58 FR B1 1/2 Dage, 3 1/2 D5 FR. Grand Eden PL, UC6 Parco Margherita 1 R from 5 B1 1/2 Dage, 4 D5 1/2 FR. Bellevue PL, T C6 Corso Vittorio Emanuele 142 R3 a 4 1/2 B1 1/2 Dage, 3 D4 FR. Equals in the lower quarters, equals via Partnope facing the sea, number 23 GR Hot, Santa Lucia PL, MF7 R from 5 B1 1/2 Dage, 4 D6 FR, number 22 GR Hot, Du Vesuve PL, GE7 R from 6 B1 1/2 Dage, 4 D6 FR, GR Hot, Victoria PL, VE7 R from 5 B1 1/2 Dage, 4 D6 FR. Number 14 Royal Desastrangers PL, IE7 R from 6 B 1 1/2 Dage, 4 D6 FR. Piazza del Municipio convenient for passing travelers GR Hot, Delanders PL, LF6 R from 5 B1 1/2 Dage, 3 1/2 D5 FR. Overlooking the sea via Partnope and Strada Chiatamon 55 Hassler PL, KE7 R510 B1 1/2 Dage, 3 1/2 D5 FR. Good via Caracciolo 15, Savoy PL. RB7 R from 4 B1 1/2 Dage, 4 D5 FR. Riviera di Chiaia PL, DCB7 with view of the Villa Nazionale and the sea, number 276 * GR. Britannia and Inghilterra PL, ED7 R from 4 B1 1/2 Dage, 3 1/2 D5 FR. By the sea via Partnope 20 Continental PL, C, E7 R3 a 7 B1 1/2 Dage, 3D, 4 1/2 FR. Strada Medina 76, convenient for passing travelers, Isata and Geneve PL, SF5 R4 a 6 B1 1/2 Dage, 3 D4 1/2 FR. By the sea entrance Strada Chiatamon 59 Metropole and Ville PL, HE7 R, from 4 B1 1/4 Dage, 3 1/2 D3 4 1/2 FR, good. Riviera di Chiaia 127 with view of the Villa Nazionale and the sea Riviera PL, FC7R, 3-4 B1 1/2 Dage, 3 1/2 D5 FR, good. Strada Santa Lucia 37 Eldorado Medellin PL, X, E7 R from 3 B1 1/2 Dage, 3 D4 FR. Unpretending, La Patria PL, WF5 Viaguglielmo San Felice 47 R, 3 a 5 FR, good hot. De Naples Corso Umberto Primo 55 R4 5 FR, hot. Milan and Schweizerhof Piazza del Municipio 84 R3 4 FR, Russi PL. NF7 Strada Santa Lucia 82 R2 a 3 1/2 FR, both plain. Equals restaurants equals, ristoranti, trattoria, Italian style à la carte. Giardini Internazionali via Roma, entrance Vico Trire 60, good cuisine, Giardini di Torino via Roma 292, Ristorante Milanese Galleria Umberto Primo and Italian cookery, Scottigiano Galleria Principe di Napoli, PL. F3 Dage, 2 FR. Nick. Esposito, Salita del Museo 62, these two suitable for visitors to the museum. Renzo e Lucia, Myra Napoli, both at the terminus of tramway line NR 7 for visitors to San Martino. Ristorante Bella Vista, P142, on the hill of Posillipo. Equals beer, equals Pilsener Urquell, Strada Santa Brigida 36. Bavaria, Galleria Umberto Primo, opposite the Teatro San Carlo, good. Equals cafes, equals Gambrinus, Piazza San Ferdinando, also restaurant Calzona, Galleria Umberto Primo at both evening concerts Nazionale, Villa Nazionale, P141, near the aquarium. Equals tea rooms, equals Galleria Vittoria PL, E7. Open 3-8 p.m. only, fashionable, Via Domnico Morley 8 pl. E7. Strada di Chiaia 143, Kafflisch Confectioner. Equals bars equals, numerous in Via Roma. Equals taximeter cabs. Equals all the fares given below are for drives within the city. Charges for drives outside the city at any time of day are the same as the night fares given below. A by day, open one-horse carriage for 2 pers, or 3 at most, for the first 1,500 meters ca. 1 m or 12 min waiting 40 c for each additional 500 m or 4 min waiting 10 c 2-horse car, for 4 6 pers, 60 and 20 c. Closed one-horse carriage, coupe, for the first 1,200 m ca. 3/4 m or 12 min waiting 50 c, each at it. 400 m, or 4 min waiting 10 c motor cab for the first 1,000 m or 12.5 min. Waiting 80 c, each at it. 200 m or 2.5 min waiting 10 c, each at it, pers above 340 c. B. By night midnight to dawn, open one-horse carriage for the first 1,200 m or 12 min waiting 40 c, each at it. 400 m or 4 min waiting 10 c, 2-horse car. 60 and 20 c. Closed one-horse carriage for the first 1,000 m or 12 min. Waiting 50 c, each at it. 333 1/3 m, ca. 365 ids. Or 4 min waiting 10 c. Motor cab for the first 1,000 m or 12.5 min waiting 80 c, each at it. 100 m, ca. 110 ids. Or 2 min waiting 10 c, each pers. Above 380 c. Luggage up to 25 kilos, 55 pounds. 10 c, up to 50 kilos 20 c, small articles free. In order to avoid misunderstandings, the driver should be asked to repeat the given direction before starting. The numerous tramways and omnibuses will generally enable the traveler to dispense with cabs. Equals tramways equals numbered. Fare 1540 c, 5 c less in second class. Cars stop regularly at stations called Sezioni, and when required at those bearing the name Fermata. Chief lines, equals 1, equals Piazza Set Settember in front of Spirito Santo PL. E4, Via Roma P139 to the Posta PL. F5, Piazza del Municipio, Piazza San Ferdinando, Largo della Vittoria PL. D7, Torretta PL. B7 and Strada Nuova di Posillipo P142. Equals 4, equals National Museum PL. EF3 P139 to the Piazza Cavour Central Station PL. H3 P135 Castel del Carmine PL. H4 Strada Nuova PL. GH5 Strada del Paliro and Piazza del Municipio. Thence is number 1 to the Torretta. Equals 6, equals Piazza Dante PL. EF4P. 139 to National Museum via Salvator Rosa PL. E3 Corso Vittorio Emanuele P141 and Torretta PL. B7 equals 7 equals Piazza Dante to National Museum via Salvator Rosa Antonano PL. BC4P. 142 and Castel Sant Elmo PL. D5 by San Martino P. 141 equals 11 equals Piazza San Ferdinando PL. E6 to Strada del Paliro Strada Nuova PL. FG56 Harbor Via del Duomo PL. GF43 and Strada del Viagini PL. F3 equals funiculars equals every 10-20 min, up 20 or 15, down 15 or 10 c. Equals 1 equals Funicolar di Chiaia Parco Margherita PL. C6 to Corso Vittorio Emanuele and Via Cimarosa PL. C5 equals 2 equals Funicolar di Monte Santo to Strada Monte Santo PL. E4 4 min from Piazza Dante, Corso Vittorio Emanuele and Castel Sant'Elmo PL. D5 equals omnibuses equals 10 c among others from Piazza San Ferdinando, PL. E6 and from Largo della Vittoria, PL. D7 to the National Museum. Equals steamboat agents, equals Cunard, Nick. Ferrola via Guglielmo Sanfelice 59. Union Castle, Anchor Line, Orient and Hungarian Adria, Home & Co. See below. White Star and Hamburg American, Piazza della Borsa 21. North German Lloyd, Asselmeyer & Co., Corso Umberto Primo 6 Goods Office, Piazza della Borsa 33. German East African Kellner & Lamp, Piazza della Borsa 8. Austro-Americana, Fornari and Massara, via Francesco Denza 2. Messageries Maritimes, Fratelli Gondrand, Corso Umberto Primo 128. Societa Nazionale, via Agostino de Predis 18. Peninsular and Oriental, Thompson Line, Ferrovie dello Stato, Steamer Service, Spanier, Piazza della Borsa 9. Navigazioni Generale, via Agostino de Predis. La Veloce, same street, number 26. Equals Post and Telegraph Office equals, PL. F5, Palazzo Gravina, Strada Monte Oliveto. Equals Consuls, equals British Consul General, S.J.A. Churchill, via de Milforti, PL. D6, Vice Consul A. Napier. U. S. Consul A.H. Byington, Piazza del Municipio 4, PL. F6. Equals Tourist Agents, equals those. Cook & Son, Galleria Vittoria, PL. E7. Equals Goods Agents, equals American Express via Vittoria 27, Elefante & Co., Piazza del Municipio 66, Fratelli Gondrand, Corso Umberto Primo 128. Equals Lloyd's Agents, equals Home & Co. via Guglielmo Sanfelice 24. Equals Churches, equals English Christ Church. Chiesa Inglese, PLD 7, Strada San Pasquale, Presbyterian, Chiesa Scazis, Vico Capella Vecchia 2. American, Vial Principessa Elena 15. Equals Sites, equals the churches are usually open in the morning and towards evening. The museums are closed on great festivals. Museo Nazionale, P139, weekdays 10-4 May Oct. 9-3 Adam, 1 FR, Sun, 9-1 Free. San Martino P141, weekdays 10-4 1 FR, Sun, 9-1 Free. Aquarium P141, daily 2 FR, Sun, and holidays 1 FR. Naples, Italy. Napoli, once the capital of the Kingdom of Naples, and now that of a province, is the most important seaport, and after Milan the most populous city of Italy, 492,000 inhab. It lies in 40 degrees 51 N, lat, and 14 degrees 15 E long, on the N side of the bay named after it, at the foot and on the slopes of several hills. Its site and environs are among the most beautiful in the world. The vicissitudes of its history are as remarkable as those of its volcanic soil. Here in hoar antiquity Greeks from Kyme founded Parthenope, afterwards called Paliopolis or Old Town, and Neapolis or New Town. Here, too, Ostrogoths, Byzantines, Normans, and Hohenstaufen held sway. Charles of Anjou, 1266–85, made Naples his capital, which was much extended by Ferdinand I of Aragon, 1458–94, by the Spanish Viceroy Don Pedro de Toledo, 1530–53, and by the Bourbon Charles Roman III, 1748–59. At length, in 1860, the kingdom and city were united to the Kingdom of Italy. In historic and artistic monuments, Naples is far poorer than the towns of northern and central Italy. But the matchless treasures from Pompeii and Herculaneum preserved in the museum, which present a new and fascinating picture of ancient life, afford ample compensation. A line drawn from the Castel Sant'Elmo, PL. D5, P141 to the Piazza Falcone, PL. E7, a height which terminates in the narrow rock of the Castello dell'Ovo, divides the city into two parts. To the E lie the oldest and busiest quarters, of which the long Via Roma P. 139 is the main street. The smaller part of the town, the Strangers' Quarter, extends along the shore to the W from the Piazza Falcone and up the slopes of Sant'Elmo and Posillipo, P. 142. The harbor quarter, and particularly the lanes between the Strada Nuova, PL. GH5 and the broad Corso Umberto Primo, PL. FH54, which leads to the station, still present diverse scenes of popular life. Through this quarter, the Strada del Duomo, P140, leads to the Strada Foria and the museum, p. 139. Passing the Immacolatella Vecchia, pl. G5, we follow the Strada del Peliro, pl. GF56, Tramway's Nose, 4 and 11, CP 137, to the Molo Enghioino, pl. FG6, the old quay which separates the Porto Mercantile from the Porto Militare. Adjacent, on the W, lies the Piazza del Municipio, pl. F6, with the Municipio or Town Hall at its W end. On the SE side of this piazza is the approach to the Castel Nuovo pl. F6, built for Charles I of Anjou in 1279-83, and afterwards much enlarged. It was the residence successively of the kings of the houses of Anjou and Aragon and the Spanish viceroys, but is now used as barracks. The inner gateway of the castle, Adam Free, consists of a triumphal arch, flanked with 2 towers, in the early Renaissance style, erected in 1451-70 in memory of the entry of Alfonso I of Aragon, 1442. From the Piazza del Municipio, the Strada San Carlo leads to the SW to the Galleria Umberto Primo pl. EF6, built in 1887-90 and vying with the Grand Arcade at Milan, and to the Piazza San Ferdinando, pl. E6, the business center of the city. Tramcars and omnibuses, CP 137. On the east side rises the Teatro San Carlo, pl. F6, dating from 1737, one of the largest in Europe. Adjacent, in the large Piazza del Plebiscito, rises the Palazzo Real pl. F6, begun in 1600. At the Piazza San Ferdinando begins the Via Roma, the chief artery of traffic, named the Toledo down to 1870, after its founder Don Pedro de Toledo, 1540. With its continuation, the Salida del Museo Nazionale, it ascends for over a mile, between the lanes on the slope of the San Telmo Hill, on the left, and the chief business part of the city, on the right, to the National Museum. This long line of streets, poor architecturally, is broken only by the small Largo della Carita, pl. E5, and the Piazza Dante, pl. EF4. About halfway between these, the Via Domenico Capitelli diverges to the right to the Church of Santa Chiara, pl. F4, the Pantheon of Naples, built in 1310-40, but tastelessly restored in 1740-57. The interior, planned in the French Gothic style, resembles a great public hall. Behind the high altar is the Gothic asterisk monument of Robert the Wise, d. 1343, the founder of the church. The transepts contain the monuments of other Angevin kings. The Museo Nazionale pl. EF3, built in 1586 as cavalry barracks, was the seat of the university from 1616 to 1780, but since 1790 has been occupied by the Royal Art Collections, which are among the finest in the world. Adam, CP 137. On the ground floor, in the E-wing on the right of the vestibule, are the asterisk Greek sculptures in marble. Entering by the first door, we begin our visit with the colonnade of the archaic sculptures Marmi Arcesi. In the center, 6009, 6010, Harmodios and Aristogiton p. 506. Turning to the right, we enter the rooms on the S side of the building, which contain sculptures of the first golden age of Greek art, 5th cent. In the central room, 6322, bust of Athena, probably after Cephisadatus, father of Praxiteles. By the window, 2 statues of Aphrodite after Alcamenes. I room on the right, 6005, so-called Hera Farnese, Roman II. Room on the left, asterisk 6727, the famous Orpheus relief, asterisk 6024. Statue of Athena after Phidias. Also in Roman II. R on the right, fine mosaics. From the colonnade of the archaic sculptures, we pass through R Roman II into the Flora colonnade, the rooms on the right of which contain the sculptures of the second golden age of Greek art, 4th cent, and of the later Greek or Hellenistic period. In the central room, 6306, bearded Dionysus after Praxiteles. I side room on the right, 6035, torso of Aphrodite, without a number, torso of a man sitting, a replica of the so-called Ares Ludovici after Lysippus. Roman II, side room, Farnese Hercules after Lysippus but coarsened. Roman III. Side room on the left, Farnese Bull, a colossal group, after Apollonius and Touriscus of Rhodes. The third colonnade contains colored sculptures. In the side rooms are fragments of sculptures and buildings. Crossing the vestibule to the W wing, we enter the colonnade of the Greek portrait statues, Portico Iconographico. On the right, * 6018. Aeschines, the Athenian orator, 6023. Homer, 6135. Euripides. Straight on, we next come to the Portico degli Imperatori, containing Greek and Roman portraits. In the center, * Hermes of a Greek philosopher. In the side rooms, Roman sculptures and architectural fragments. The central of these rooms contains the celebrated * mosaic of the Battle of Alexander. The remaining rooms contain the * collection of the larger antique bronzes. The chief rooms, Roman II bronzes from Pompeii, Roman IIIV from Herculaneum, are on the S front of the museum. Room I 5003, young Dionysos, so-called Narcissus. Room Roman II, 5630, archaic statue of Apollo playing on the lyre, 4997. Victory, Room Roman III, 5625. Hermes reposing, School of Lysippus, 5633. Boy's head end of 5th cent, * 4885. Bust of the Dorophorus spear-bearer, after Polycletus, 5618. Head of bearded Dionysus, after a work of the school of Myron, 5th cent. Room V 5616. Hellenistic poet, the so-called Seneca. In the mezzanino entresol, on the right, is the * collection of ancient wall paintings, affreschi Pompeani from Pompeii, Herculaneum, etc., room I 9105. Briseis carried off from the tent of Achilles, 9559. Nuptials of Zeus and Hera, room Roman II, 8976. Medea about to slay her children, 9286. Dionysus and the sleeping Ariadne. Passage to RV, 9180. Cupids for sale. Room V 8834. Girl gathering flowers, 9295. Bacchantes and satyrs, 9133. Centaurs, 9118-21, rope dancing satyrs. The first floor primo piano contains in the E-wing to the left of the staircase the 2 Sale dei Commestibili, devoted to provisions, textiles, pigments, etc. from Pompeii. Also 7 rooms on the end side of the building, occupied by the * collection of the smaller bronzes, Piccoli Bronzi, and by interesting domestic furniture from Pompeii, affording an admirable idea of the ancient style of living. The whole of the W wing is occupied by the Pinacoteca or picture gallery, chiefly of Italian works. Room I Correggio, betrothal of St. Catherine, room Roman II. Titian, Danae 1545, Pope Paul Roman III, Farnese 1543 and 1545, and Philip Roman II, of Spain, room Roman III. Sebest, Del Piombo, Holy Family, Popes Hadrian Roman VI, and Clement Roman VII, room Roman IV. Raphael, Holy Family, Madonna del Divino Amore. Room V, Sandro Botticelli, Madonna. The other rooms contain Renaissance objects, Aghetti del Cinquecento, the engravings, and the National Library. The second floor, secondo piano, is dedicated to antique glass, gold and silver plate, cut gems, etc. A most interesting and extensive collection, one of the finest of its kind. The NE quarter, between the museum and the central station, tramways Nos. 4 and 11, P 137, also boasts of its sites. We follow the long Piazza Cavour, PL. F3 to the NE from the museum, and at the beginning of the Via Foria descend the Strada del Duomo to the right to the 4 Min. Cathedral PL. G3, San Gennaro, best seen about noon, a Gothic edifice, built in 1222-1323, but repeatedly modernized. The third chapel in the right aisle is the famous Cappella di San Gennaro, or Cappella del Tesoro, added to the church in 1608-37. The altar contains 2 phials of the blood of Saint Januarius, which is miraculously liquefied thrice yearly. The crypt, below the high altar, shows the finest example of Renaissance decoration in Naples, 1497-1507. From the left aisle is entered the Basilica of Santa Restituta, the old cathedral, founded in the 7th century. The Church of San Giovanni a Carbonara, PL. G3, in the street of that name, a little way to the any of the cathedral, contains, at the back of the high altar, 1746, the late Gothic asterisk monument of King Ladislaus, d. 1414, by Andreas de Florentia. At the end of the street, opposite the Castel Capuano, PL. G3, now law courts, built by Emp Frederick Roman II. In 1231 rises the Porta Capuana PL. GH3, one of the finest of Renaissance gateways, built by the Florentine Giuliano de Maiano, 1485, with sculptures by Giovanni da Nola, 1535. The chief approach from the Piazza San Ferdinando, P138 to the W, quarters is by the animated Strada di Chiaia, PL. E6. From its W end, we proceed along the Strada Santa Caterina, bearing to the left, cross the Piazza dei Martiri, and follow the Via Calabretto with its numerous shops to the Largo della Vittoria, PL. D7, tramways Nos. 1 and 4 and omnibus CP. 137. This piazza may be reached also from the Rione Santa Lucia on the east side by the Via Partenope, PL. FE7, which leads along the coast, past the Castello dell'Ovo, P138, and affords fine views. On the W side of the Largo lies the Villa Nazionale PL. CD7, usually called La Villa, a beautiful public garden planted with palms, bounded on the seaside by the Via Caracciolo, the fashionable promenade of Naples, and on the side next the town by the Riviera di Chiaia. A band plays here on Sun, Tues, and Thurs, 2-4 o'clock Junacht, 9:11 p.m. In the middle of these grounds is the Zoological Station, founded in 1872 by the German naturalist A. Doan, d. 1909. The central building contains the asterisk aquarium PL. D. 7 atom, CP 137, which presents an unrivaled and most interesting picture of submarine life. The winding Corso Vittorio Emanuele over 2.5 m long, ascends from the coast a little way beyond the Villa Nazionale, or it may be reached from the museum by the Via Salvator Rosa, PL. E3, tramway number 6, CP 137. Above the villa, on the S-slope of the Sant Elmo Hill, are situated the best hotels. On the hills to which the two funiculars and tramway number 7, P137, ascend from the lower town lies the new quarter of Rione Vomero, PL. CD5. On its east side rises the old Castel Sant Elmo, PL. D. 5817 FT. Fortified with huge walls and with passages hewn in the tufa rock, and now used as a military prison. From the outer gate of the castle, at the tramway terminus, we descend to the to the suppressed Carthusian monastery of San Martino PL. D5, Atom CP 137, a Gothic building of the 14th century, tastefully restored in the Baroque style about 1650. The church, the old Farmacia, room Roman III, and the cloisters are interesting. The other rooms contain Neapolitan memorials and art industry collections. Rooms Roman 15 and Roman 16, once the library, are filled with Neapolitan majolicas and porcelain. From room XXX, to the right, we enter a belvedere Roman 32, whose balconies offer a superb view of the city, Vesuvius, the bay, and the fertile plain extending to the Apennines, best by afternoon light. A famous view, clear weather necessary, is obtained from the old monastery of Camaldoli 1503 FT. Founded in 1585 on the highest of the hills to the NW of Sant Elmo. The rough road to it car, about 6 with 2 horses 910 FR. There and back 4.5 HRS. Leaves the city near the Porta San Martino, PL. AB2, the NW gate of the Cinta Desiria or Wall of the Octroi, town customs. If on foot or on donkey back 2.5 FR, and fee to attendant 5.6 HRS. We go from Rione Vomero, C above, through the suburb of Antonano, PL. BC 4.5 to the little customs office of El Architiello, PL. B4, near which the bridle path begins. The monastery, suppressed, and now private property but still occupied by several monks. Fee 30.50 C, ladies not admitted, offers little attraction. Straight through the garden, we reach a point of view which commands the bays of Naples and Pozzuoli, the Phlegrean plain with its numerous extinct craters, and the Bay of Gadda as far as the distant Ponza Islands. p. 133. When ladies are of the party, we turn to the right, near the NW angle of the monastery wall, and descend a little to the 8-min gate of the Veduta Pagliana, Adam 20c, where the view is similar. Travelers whose time is limited may at least visit the Strada Nuova di Posillipo, tramway number 1, p. 137. It is approached, beyond the Villa Nazionale, p. 141, by the Strada di Mergellina, pl. B7, from which the Corso Vittorio Emanuele, p. 141, diverges. The Strada Nuova di Posillipo, gradually ascending from the sea, leads between villas with luxuriant gardens round the broad hill of Posillipo, which bounds the Bay of Naples on the W, and offers, especially by evening light, superb views of Mt. Vesuvius, the peninsula of Sorrento, p. 154, and the island of Capri. A walk of 10 min straight on from the tramway terminus brings us through a cutting to the Bella Vista, a point of view near the restaurant of that name, p. 136, where we have an unimpeded view of the Bay of Pozzuoli and of the islands of Procida and Ischia, p. 135. An interesting circular trip may be made from the Corso Vittorio Emanuele, p. 141, up the Via Tasso, pl. CB6, with its fine points of view to the top of Posillipo, then along the crest of the hill to the SW. To the tramway terminus and back by the Posillipo Road, a walk of 3 of 4 HRS, or a drive of 1.5 HR. A cab should be taken by the hour. For Naples and its environs, comp. Also Baedeker's Southern Italy, or Italy from the Alps to Naples. From Genoa to Tunis via Leghorn and Cagliari. This route forms part of the Linea Circolare della Tunisia e Tripolitania, lines Roman 18 Roman 20 of the Società Nazionale, a circular tour which offers interesting glimpses of Sardinia, Malta, and the coast of Sicily, as well as of Oriental life at the African ports, RR. 64-27-24. The steamers usually leave Genoa on Frid, evening Leghorn on Sat, night and Cagliari on Mon, evening and arrive at Tunis on Tus, forenoon. In the reverse direction, they leave Tunis on Mon, at noon and reach Genoa on Thurs, evening. Fare 111 or 83 FR, or for the whole round 303 or 212 FR. As some of the steamers are hardly up to date, inquiry as to the best should be made beforehand. Office at Genoa, CP 114, at Leghorn, Piazza Miceli, P 143, at Tunis, P 331. Genoa and voyage to 92M Leghorn, Comp. pp. 113-134. We pass Meloria, a cliff 4M to the W of Leghorn, off which the Genos destroyed the fleet of Pisa in 1284. Leghorn Ital. Livorno Marble Palace Hotel, hot. D'Inghilterra and Campari, hot. Japone both in Via Vittorio Emanuele with restaurants, good Italian houses for passing travelers, Brit Cons, M. Carmichael U. S. Cons, E. A. Man, Pop. 78,000, a provincial capital, one of the chief seaports of Italy and a sea bathing place, is quite a modern town. The harbor consists of the Porto Nuovo, sheltered by a semicircular mole, Diga Curvilinear, and the new Molo Vegliaia, and the old Porto Medesio, or inner harbor. Landing or embarkation 1 FR, trunk 30C. Near the harbor is the Piazza Miceli, adorned with a curious monument of the Grand Duke Ferdinand I of Tuscany, 1587-1609. Straight on runs the Via Vittorio Emanuele, the main street, lined with shops. It leads across the large Piazza Vittorio Emanuele, which is flanked by the cathedral, the Municipio, and other public buildings, to the Piazza Carlo Alberto, whence the Via Garibaldi and Via Palestro lead to the left to the railway station. A pleasant walk, or tramway from the station to Antonano, is offered by the Viale Regina Margherita, about 2m in length, the seaside promenade to the S of the town, in summer enlivened by numerous bathers. Between it and the harbor, and adjoining the Piazza Mazzini, is the Cantiere Orlando, the dockyards where ironclads and other vessels are built for the Italian Navy. At the S end of the sea promenade lie the villa suburbs of Ardenza and Antonano, which have sea baths also. On the fine voyage from Leghorn to 339M Cagliari, we at first obtain a good view of the Tuscan archipelago, relics of the primeval Tyrrhenes, p. Roman 31. These islands are composed mainly of granite, with slate and limestone strata overlying it in places. Passing at some distance from the barren fisher island of Gorgona, 837 ft. And from Caprea, the Capraria Goats Island of Antiquity, we steer to the SSW. Towards the W coast of Elba, enjoying in clear weather a fine distant asterisk view of the peninsula of Cape Corse, the N, extremity of Corsica, and of Monte Cinto, 8892 ft. The highest mountain in the interior of that island. We next skirt the island of Elba, the Italia of the Greeks and Ilva of the Romans, the largest island in the archipelago, 19 m long, famous as the scene of the first exile of Napoleon I 1814-5. The valuable iron mines here, Comp. pp. 134-135, worked from very ancient times, are an important factor in the industries of Italy. We pass the rocky end coast of the island, which is visible as far as the Capo della Vita, p. 135, and on its W side, we observe the massive granitic Monte Capan, 3343 ft. The steamer passes between the hardly less steep S coast of Elba and the flat island of Pianosa, 85 ft. The ancient Planasia, and steers to the SSW, towards the S coast of Sardinia. On the left, about 26 m from Elba, appears the bold granitic island of Monte Cristo, 2126 ft. The ancient Aglasa, the scene of the well-known novel The Count of Monte Cristo by Alex Dumas. The Straits of Bonifacio, p. 133, lie far to the W of the steamer's course. Off the Eni coast of Sardinia, we first sight the massive rocky island of Tavolera, 1821 ft. The Busona of the Romans, masking the bay of Terranova. Then, when off Capo Camino, the eastmost point of Sardinia, we see Monte Alvo, 3701 ft. A little inland. The somewhat monotonous SE coast of the island is backed by sterile mountains. We pass the little port of Arbatax, Tortelli Marina, the Capo di Bellavista, the Capo Esfera Cavallo, the Monteferro, 2878 ft. The Capo Ferrato, and lastly the islet of Serpentara. Beyond Capo Carbonara, the SE point of Sardinia, and the Isola dei Cavalli, p. 118, opens the broad Gulf of Cagliari on the flat S coast of the island. On the hillside at the head of the gulf, beyond the fortified Cape Sentilia, which shuts off the inner Golfo di Quarto, lies the town of Cagliari. Around it are several large coast lakes, the Stagno di Molentargius on the E, the Stagno di Cagliari on the W, and others which yield quantities of salt. The latter has been separated from the Gulf only since the Middle Ages by a neck of land called the Playa. Cagliari the steamer is moored in the Darsena. Landing or embarkation 40, with baggage 60c. Hotels, Scala di Ferro, Viale Regina Margherita 5, with good restaurant, R2 a 3 fr. Quattro Mori, Largo Carlo Fellis, R from 2 fr, also restaurant. Caffè Torino, via Roma. Post and Telegraph Office, via Ludovico Bale 22. Cab, bargaining advisable, 1, at night a half fr. Per drive, baggage 20c. British Consul, also Lloyd's agent, R.E. Pernies. Cagliari, Sardin. Castadu, the Roman Carols, a very ancient town having been founded by the Phoenicians, now the seat of a university and of an archbishop with 48,000 inhab, lies in one of the hottest and driest regions in Italy. At the foot of the Casello or Old Town, 290 ft. Lie the new quarters of Villanova, Marina, and Stampes, adjoined on the W by the suburb of Sant'Avendrese. The Via Roma, an avenue skirting the sea, the fashionable Corso in the evening, leads from the Palazzo Comunale to the Largo Carlo Fellis. On the right are two covered markets, which are worth seeing in the forenoon. This Largo leads to the Piazza Yen, the business center of the modern town. At the end of the Largo Carlo Fellis rises a statue of Charles Felix I. 1821-31, and in the Piazza Yen an antique column. Between these passes the main thoroughfare of the town. To the left the Corso Vittorio Emanuele, ending near a group of ancient Roman houses recently excavated, now called Casa di Tigelio. To the right, leading to the upper town, the animated Via Mano, popularly La Costa, with numerous shops, where among other things the gold ornaments commonly worn by the country people should be noticed. From the Piazza della Costa d'Uziani at the SE end of the Via Mano, the asterisk Viale Regina Elena runs to the N, beneath the precipitous E side of the abrupt Casello. It affords a fine view of the ancient town wall of the cathedral and of the picturesque rear of the castle buildings. Below, on the right, lies Villanova with its quaint tiled roofs, while beyond it we have a splendid view of Cape Sunt, Elia, and across the wide plain of Quarto to the mountains. From the Giardino Pubblico, at the end of the promenade, we mount to the W to the Passeggiata Buon Camino, see below. Adjoining the Via Mano, P144, is the small Piazzetta de Martiri d'Italia, whence the Via Giuseppe Mazzini ascends in two bends to the Casello, still fortified in medieval style. At the top is the new Passeggiata Coperta, one of the finest points in the town. The Via dell'Università leads hence to the left to the university and to the ponderous Torre dell'Elefante, which, according to the inscription, was erected by the Pisans in 1307. Straight on, we pass through the Torre dell'Aquila, an old gateway now enclosed within the Palazzo Boyle, to the Via Lammermoor, the main street in the Casello, which is connected with the parallel streets by steep lanes, dark vaulted passages, and steps. From the terraced little Piazza del Municipio, with the council hall of the old town, a flight of steps to the right ascends to the cathedral, Santa Cecilia, completed by the Pisans in 1312, but since then frequently altered. A new facade, in keeping with the old building, is now under construction. Farther to the N, in the Piazza del Indipendenza, is the Pisan Torre San Pancrazio, 14th cent. A modern addition to which contains the very notable Museum of Antiquities, if closed apply to the director, Sig. Nisardi. Besides Phoenician and Roman antiquities, we may note the cork model of a nurag, one of the conical fortresses built by the aboriginal Iberian inhabitants. Going through the citadel, which bounds the Casello on the N, we follow the Passeggiata Buon Camino to the Piazza d'Armi. Just beyond the barracks, a road to the left leads to the Roman Amphitheater, greater diameter 97, smaller 80 ids, arena 55 by 37 ids, with tiers of seats mostly hewn in the rock. Below the amphitheater lie the Garden of the Poorhouse, Ricovero di Mendicita, and the Botanic Garden Thurs. For 7, both containing remains of antique irrigation works, which are continued on the cliffs to the NW of the Old Town. Close by is the ancient necropolis of Carols. Nearest the town are the Punic tomb chambers, sunk perpendicularly in the rock. Care should be taken here, and farther to the W are the mostly horizontal Roman tombs. From the ruined castle of San Michele, at the top of a hill about 2m, to the N of the Piazza d'Armi, P145, we overlook the Stagno di Cagliari, P144, and the Campidano, a fruitful but fever-stricken plain between the bays of Cagliari and Oristano, P129, where the clay-built villages and the cactus hedges recall N Africa. See also Baedeker's Southern Italy. The steamer on leaving the Gulf of Cagliari steers to the SSE. Astern we soon sight Cape Spartivento, P118, at the NW end of the Gulf, for the voyage along the Tunisian coast, and for Tunis, CR21 and P329. Voyage from Tunis to Algiers, CR22, to Tripoli, CR64. From Naples to Tunis via Palermo. From Naples to Palermo, 193m. Equals 1, equals steamers of the Ferrovie dello Stato, line C daily in 9 HRS, at 10:45 p.m. returning at 8:30 p.m. Fare 25 FR, 5 or 15 FR, 65 C. Equals 2, equals Società Nazionale, line Roman 16 C below every Moan, evening in 12 HRS, and lines X and Z every second Frid. Aft, in 17 3/4 HRS. Fares 25 FR. 5, 15 FR, 65 C, equals 3, equals Adriaco RR, 23, 24 every Thurs, afternoon in 15 HRS, fare 18 FR without food, equals 4, equals Lloyd Sabato 1 3 times monthly, comp. R, 24. Passengers, both going and coming, should rise early in order to enjoy the superb approaches to the bays of Palermo and Naples. From Genoa to Palermo direct, 494m every Thurs. Returning on WED, byline Roman 22, for Palermo, Trapani, Syracuse, and Catania of the Società Nazionale, fare 80 or 55 FR. From Palermo to Tunis, 217m. Equals 1, equals Società Nazionale, equals A, equals line Roman 16 from Naples, see above, leaving Palermo 2s, aft Trapani 2s. Evening arrives at Tunis Wed morning returning from Tunis Wed. Night from Trapani 3s. Morning from Palermo 3s. Evening R at Naples Frid. Morning, fare from Palermo to Tunis 64 fr. 25 or 43 fr. 25C equals B equals line Roman 17 from Palermo to Pantelleria and Tunis, small cargo boats, calling at Castellammare del Golfo, Trapani, Favignana, Marsala, Madeira, Sciacca, and the island of Pantelleria Dep, from Palermo 3s. Morning from Madeira reached also by railway 89m in 4¼ HRS. 18 fr. 25 12 fr. 80 or 8 fr. 30C Frid. Afternoon landing or embarkation in fine weather only, R, at Tunis Sat. Evening returning from Tunis on Sun. Evening R at Madeira on Mon. Evening and at Palermo 2s. Night, fare from Madeira 73 fr or 50 fr, 35C. Equals 2 equals navigation mixed Twachco, cargo steamer from Palermo to Tunis direct, coming from Marseille, R21 on Wed. Noon in 18 HRS. Returning Thurs. At noon, fare 60 or 40 fr. Combined tickets, Naples-Palermo-Tunis, are available by either of the two companies' boats. Agents at Naples, Palermo, and Tunis, CPP. 137, 148, 331. Naples, CP 135. The bay is usually quitted at night. We proceed to the SSW, through the Bacca Grande, P 133. After about 1¼ HR. We skirt the rocky W coast of Capri, P 154. Towards morning appears to the SW. The island of Ustica, 784 ft. Which was visited by an earthquake in March 1906. To the SE in clear weather are seen Filicuri, 2543 ft. Greek Phoenicusa and Alicuri, 2175 ft. The ancient Aracusa, the westmost of the Lipari Islands, P 155. Beyond lies the N coast of Sicily, from Cape Gallo, P 152, and the finely shaped Monte Pellegrino, P 151, to the Madani MTS, 6480 ft. Snow-clad in winter. A scene of striking beauty is revealed as we steam into the Bay of Palermo, which opens towards the E, between Monte Pellegrino and the smaller pointed headland of Monte Catalfano, 1237 ft. Backed by a circus of grand mountains, Monte Cuccio, 3448 ft. Monte Griffone, 2550 ft. And others. After passing between the harbor piers, the Antemural on the S and the Molo lighthouse on the N, we observe on the left the shallow old harbor of La Cala, P 149, with the ruined fort of Castellammare. Equals Palermo equals arrival. The steamers from Naples are berthed at the new Santa Lucia Pier, PL, G45. In the case of the others, landing or embarkation is effected by boat 60C with baggage 1 fr. The custom house examination is slight. Porter Facchino for handbag 10 trunk 50C, from the pier to the town car. 3/4 M tramway number 1, see below. Omnibuses or motorcars from the hotels await steamers at the pier. Cabs, see below. Equals hotels equals most frequented Feb, April. Villa Igia a quarter HR to the N. Of the quay at the Acquasanta terminus of tramway's nose. 1 and 7 near the sea with park, casino, and fine view are from 8B2 Dage, 5D. 7 3 FR. Excelsior Palace PL. EG2 Via della Libertà near the Giardino Inglese, good restore, are from 4B1½ D6 1½ FR. Hot. Des Palmes PL. E3 Via Stable 103 R412B. 1½ D6 1½ FR. 3 houses of the first class closed in summer. The following also of the first class are open throughout the year. Hot. De France PL. C5 near the Giardino Garibaldi R. 410 B1½ D5 1½ FR. Trinacria PL. B C5 with sea view entrance in Via Butera are from 4 B1½ D5 1½ FR. Savoy PL. G E3 Via Cavour are from 3 D4½ 1½ FR. Panormus PL. K E34 Via Michel Amari 11 are from 2½ B1¼ Dage, 2½ D3½ FR. Less pretending open all the year round, Milano PL. F3 Via Americo Amari 114 are from 3½ 1 FR. Well spoken of Albergo Vittoria PL. HD4 via Bandiera 31 and Central PL. DC3 Corso Vittorio Emanuele 343 R from 2FR. Both with restaurant, Patria PL. IB4 via Alaro 96, view from roof terrace, Cavour Corso Vittorio Emanuele 330, both hotels Garnis, R from 1.5 FR. Equals restaurants equals Italian cooking, à la carte. Gran Caf Nuovo in the Tetro Biondo PL. C4 Restaurant de Paris via Macquetta 200, both good. Planer, Vanini Corso Vittorio Emanuele 405. Ristorante Napoli, same street, number 265. Ristorante Bologna, same street, no, 381. Equals cafes equals rarely frequented in the morning. Caf del Tetro Massimo P151, Trinacria Quattro Canti di Campagna PL. E3, Caflish via Macquetta 250, Café Italia via Cavour. English Tea Rooms, Piazza Marina 41. Beer. Gran Caf Nuovo see above, Trinacria see above, Gambrinus Tetro Massimo. Equals cabs, equals for 1-4 pers, within Via Lincoln, Corso Tucuri, Piazza dell'Indipendenza and Piazza Ucciardone per drive 50C from midnight to dawn 1 FR. To outer quarters, drive under a half HR, also to the quay or the railway stations 1 FR. From midnight to dawn 1 FR. 50C, 1 hour 1 FR. 80C, each at it. A quarter HR, 40C. Handbag 20, trunk 40C. Driving in the inner city on Good Friday prohibited. For long drives a bargain should be made, thus to Montreal P152 with stay of 1.5 HR, 7-8 or out of season 4-6, FR. Equals tramways equals within the city 10, transfer 15C. Among the chief are equals 1, equals from Piazza Marina PL. C5 to Via Francesco Crispi PL. EF for Piazza Ucciardone PL. G4 and Acquasanta Villa Igia. Equals 4, equals from Porta Macquetta PL. DE3 to Via Francesco Crispi, Piazza Ucciardone and Falda P151. Equals 7, equals from Piazza Marina to Via Lincoln PL. B a 6-4, Central Station, Corso Tucuri, Piazza dell'Indipendenza PL. B1, Corso Alberto Amedio PL. BD1, Politama Garibaldi PL. F3 and Acquasanta Villa Igia. Equals 9, equals from Piazza Bologna PL. C3 to Piazza dell'Indipendenza, Rocca P152 and Montreal P152, every a half HR. In 35 min, fare 40 back 30 C. Above Rocca gradient Ca. 1 and 8, there is a funicular section 1100 ids. Long. Equals post office, equals PL, C3 Piazza Bologna, equals telegraph. Office equals PL, C3, via Macquetta 222, also in the Piazza Marina. Equals steamboat lines. Equals Società Nazionale, Corso Vittorio Emanuele 96, corner of Piazza Marina. Ferrovie dello Stato, steamer service J. And V Florio via Roma, navigation mixed and White Star A Tagliavia, same street, number 51, Austro-American P425, A Loria, Cunard, Piazza Marina 13, anchor line, e.g. or see below. Equals banks, equals Banca Commercial, d'Italia and di Sicilia, all in Corso Vittorio Emanuele. Those, Cook and Son, same street, number 155. Equals consuls, equals British, R.G. McBean, via Francesco Crispi, Vice Consul, W.A. Morrison. United States, H. De Soto, Piazza Castelnuovo 44. Equals Lloyd's agent equals, e.g. or, Piazza Marina. Equals English Church, equals Holy Cross, Anglicana. PL, E3-4, via stable, services every sun. At 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. in winter. 1 day and a half is the minimum time for a glance at the sights. First, in the forenoon, Cappella Palatina, P149, San Giovanni degli Eremiti, P150, Cathedral P149, Martorana P150, Museum P150. In the afternoon, best in the early morning in summer, Monte Pellegrino P151. In summer, towards evening, Villa Giulia and the Marina P151. Second, in the forenoon, Montreal P152. Palermo, the capital of Sicily, with 250,000 inhab. The seat of an archbishop and a university, lies on the beautiful bay named after it, in the midst of the Conca d'Oro, a fertile plain artificially watered, and yielding oranges, lemons, mandarins, and other fruits in profusion. Palermo is also the chief seaport in the island, whence fruit, wine, sumac, and the sulfur of Sicily, 79% of the world's consumption, are largely exported. The city, the panormus of antiquity, began its career as a Phoenician colony. It next became the capital of the island under the Carthaginian domination, but was conquered by the Romans in 254 BC. Next came the Ostrogoths and the Byzantines, who were succeeded by the Aghlabides and Fatimites, p. 323, who again made the town the capital of the island under the name of Palerm and opened up Sicily to Moorish culture. When Palermo became the residence of its Norman conquerors, 1072–1194, they erected castles and churches, partly employing Arabian architects and artificers, whose work shows a charming blend of Byzantine, Arabian, and Oriental features. Later, as the favorite seat of the Hohenstaufen, 1194–1266, Palermo attained the zenith of its glory. The old town, however, owes its architectural character to the Spanish viceroys, 16th–17th cent, who chose it as their residence in spite of the protests of Messina. Since the union of Sicily with the Kingdom of Italy, 1860, there has been a great revival of building enterprise, with the result that broad streets and villa suburbs have sprung up, particularly on the end side of the old town. From the Santa Lucia Pier, PL, G45, we enter the old town by the Via Francesco Crispi, PL, FE4, tramway number 1, CP 147, leading to the old Porta San Giorgio, PL, E4. The Via Cavour diverges here to the right to the old Porta Maqueda, P 151. We turn to the left, cross the Piazza del Castello, PL, D5, pass the old Fort Castellamare, and skirt the Cala, P 147, or Old Harbor, a little beyond which is the Piazza Marina, PL, C5, where the beautiful Giardino Garibaldi recalls the tropics with its luxuriant vegetation. A little to the NE of the Giardino is the Porta Fellis, PL, C5-6P, 151, from which to the Porta Nuova, PL, B1, P150, over 1M, distant runs the Corso Vittorio Emanuele, intersecting the whole of the old town. This long street owes its present form to Don Pedro de Toledo, P 138, but having been for centuries the route from the harbor to the castle, it has retained its old popular name of Casero, from the Arabic casser, castle. At the Quattro Canti, PL, C3, the old business center of the city, the Corso is crossed by the Via Maqueda, PL, AD 4-3, P 151, begun by the Viceroy Marques de Villena in 1609, and now a second important artery of the old town. The Corso leads to the Piazza del Duomo, on the end side of which rises the Cathedral PL, C2, dedicated to the Assunta, on the site of an older church which the Moors had converted into a mosque. The original Romanesque building, erected by Archbishop Walter of the Mill, Gualterio a Familio, after 1185, has been entirely transformed in the course of centuries, with the exception of the lower part of the clock tower and the external decoration of the choir niche. The handsome W facade with the two towers which date from 1359, the incongruous dome, and the modernized internal decorations are the work of the Florentine Fern. Fuga, 1781–1801. The right aisle, on the left of the S-portal, contains the asterisk monuments of Norman and Hohenstaufen monarchs. At the SW end of the Corso Vittorio Emanuele, beyond the Piazza della Vittoria, PL, B2, on a slight eminence, which from the earliest times has been the site of the castle, rises the Palazzo Real PL, B1, which still bears traces of its original fortified character, although the foundation walls alone are Arabian, and the central tower with the pointed arch, Santa Ninfa, P 150, is the only relic of the Norman part of the building. The last door on the left, opposite the monument of Philip V, leads into the palace yard. Sticks and umbrellas are left with the porter, guide a half FR, but quite unnecessary. We ascend the stairs to the left, on the first floor turn to the right, and pass through the arcaded passage to the Capella Palatina, a perfect gem of medieval art built by King Roger Roman II. In 1132-40 in the Arabic Norman style Adam, daily 7 to 10:30 free, later weekdays till 4 sun, till 3 fee, best light in the morning. In the interior the chapel is a basilica with 2 aisles including the choir and apse. It is 36 ids, long and 14 ids, in breadth. The Arabian pointed arches are borne by 10 antique columns. The central dome, 59 ft. high, is adorned with Greek and Latin inscriptions. The beautiful Arabian timber ceiling in the nave, with its Kufic early Arabic inscription, is joined to the walls by stalactite vaulting. All the walls are encrusted with glass mosaics on a gold ground. The palace tower, Santa Ninfa, now an observatory, is famed for the delightful panorama it affords, fee a 1 fr. Not always accessible. The top of the Porta Nuova, PL. B1, close by, also overlooks the city and the Conca d'Oro. Descending the steps by the monument of Philip V, we now follow the Via del Bastion a Porta di Castro and the Via dei Benedettini to the ruined church of Asterisks and Giovanni degli Eremiti, PL. A B12, Adam, by the Garden Gate, Fee 25C. The interior is in the form of a so-called Egyptian cross, P376, with 3 apses. The nave is divided into 2 squares by a pointed arch. Quite an oriental effect is produced by the 5 unadorned domes, which are best viewed from the pretty cloisters, now a garden. Adjoining the S side of the church is a dilapidated little mosque. We now return to the Quattro Canti, P149, and turn to the right into the Via Maqueda. Here, immediately on the right, is the University, PL. C3. On the left is the Palazzo di Città or Municipio. Just beyond the latter is the small Piazza Bellini, whence steps ascend to 2 old Norman churches, Adam, daily 9-4 1 fr, sun, free. The smaller San Cataldo of 1161 is crowned with Arabian pinnacles. Still more curious is the larger church, La Martorana, PL. B.C. 4, named after its founder, the Greek admiral of Roger I 1143, and known also as Santa Maria del Ammiraglio, a Byzantine edifice with Norman additions, now suitably restored. The 2 lower stories of the clock tower are part of the original church. From the Corso Vittorio Emanuele, a little to the E of the Quattro Canti, runs the new Via Roma, PL. C. D4 to the NNW, to the Piazza San Domenico. On the east side of this piazza rises the large church of San Domenico, PL. D4, containing monuments to many eminent Sicilians. Behind the church, in the Via Bambini, is the Oratorio del Santissimo Rosario, Keys at number 16, adjacent, containing a fine Madonna del Rosario by A. Van Dyck. From the Piazza San Domenico, the Via Monteleone leads to the NW to the Piazza del Olivella, where an old monastery on the right contains the Museo Nazionale PL. D3, weekdays 10-3 1 fr. Sun. 11-3 free but not fully shown, closed on high festivals on the last 3 days of the Carnival and in Holy Week. Ground floor. From the Primo Cortile, containing medieval and Renaissance portals, sculptures, and inscriptions, we enter the Secondo Cortile, once the cloisters, where ancient sculptures and inscriptions are exhibited, on the left Sicilian, on the right those of foreign or uncertain origin. From the vestibule, beyond the cloisters, we pass through a small room, containing 2 Phoenician sarcophagi found near Palermo, to the Sala di Panormo, with mosaics and inscriptions from Panormus, and opposite to it the Sala del Fauno, so named from the fine satyr in the style of Praxiteles which it contains. The adjoining Sala di Selinunt contains the celebrated asterisk metopes of Selinus, p. 154. On the left, between parts of the ponderous entablature of the oldest temple, are 3 rude and primitive metopes of the beginning of the 6th cent. BC, Quadriga, beheading of Medusa, Hercules, and the Cercopes, then the lower halves of 2 metopes, dating from about the middle of the 6th cent. Battle of the Gods and the Giants. On the back wall 4 metopes of the early 5th cent. A period just before the prime of Greek art, Hercules slaying the queen of the Amazons, Hera unveiling herself before Zeus, Actaeon torn to pieces by the dogs of Artemis, Athene slaying a giant. The stairs in the forecourt ascend to the first floor. The steps to the left lead to the Sala Araba, which contains Arabian and Arab Norman antiquities found in Sicily, doorframe from the Martorana Monastery, earthenware vase from Madeira, and early Arabian objects from Cairo. The Corridor di Ponente contains painted female figures, 4th–3rd cent. BC, similar to the terracottas of Tanagra. Beyond the cloisters is the room of the ancient bronzes, among which we note a fountain group of Hercules and the Cyrenian hind, from Pompeii, and a ram marvelously lifelike. Next come 2 rooms on the left with Greek vases. From the corridor on the opposite side, we enter the Gabinetto di Numismatica, an admirable collection of the ancient coins of Sicily and of antique trinkets. The last room contains gorgeous church vestments. On the second floor is the Gallery of Pictures, chiefly by Sicilian masters, Pietro Novelli and others. A small winged altarpiece by Jan Mabius, 1501, a gem of Netherlandish art, should however be noted. From the museum, the Via della Barra leads to the W to the Piazza Giuseppe Verdi, PL. D3, in which rises the Teatro Massimo or Vittorio Emanuele, the largest in Italy. At the end of the Via Maqueda, P149, is the old Porta Maqueda, PL. DE3, whence the Via Ruggiero Settimo leads into the Broad. Via della Libertà, PL. FG32, a fashionable evening promenade ending at the pretty Giardino Inglese, PL. GH2. The marina, officially named Foro Umberto I, PL. CB6, which begins at the Porta Fellis, PL. C56. P149, near the harbor, affords a superb walk and is a favorite resort on summer evenings after 6, music at 9. At the S end of the marina lies the *= Villa Giulia or Flora, PL. AB6, one of the most beautiful public gardens in Italy, where the blossoming trees diffuse their fragrance in spring far around. It is adjoined on the W by the Botanic Garden, PL. AB6, Gardner 2550C. Almost vying with the famous Jardin d'Essai at Algiers, P232. A visit to * Monte Pellegrino = 1968 FT. The ancient Ercht, a bare limestone hill to the end of Palermo, should not be omitted in clear weather. Tramway number 4 to Falda, near the S foot of the hill, CP 147. Donkey, ordered in the town beforehand, with attendant 4 FR. The zigzag path, visible from the town, ascends in about 1/2 HR. From the Punta di Bersaglio, 5 min to the N of Falda, to the Grotto of St. Rosalia, D about 1170, which has been well described by Goethe. Near it are a cottage, where bread and wine may be obtained, bargaining advisable, and the restaurant Argosiden, open only on sun. A steep footpath ascends thence in 1/2 HR. To the Telegrafo, the signal station on the summit, where we enjoy a * view of the beautiful basin of Palermo, of the indented end coast of Sicily, and of the Lipari Islands, P146. To the E, beyond the Madoni, P146, and the distant Nebrodian MTS, Towers MT. Etna. Monorail Tramway number 9 and car, CPP, 147-148, is reached from the Porta Nuova PL, B1, P150 by the Corso Calatafimi. Beyond 3M La Rocca the road ascends to the 3/4 HR. Top of the Royal Hill, 1148 FT. The town of Monreal Restore. Savoy, Eden, Pop. 24,000, owes its origin to a Benedictine abbey, founded by William Roman II. 1174, and to the famous cathedral, 1174-89, built here as the seat of the second archbishopric in the island. The cathedral is a Norman Romanesque basilica consisting of nave, aisles, and 3 apses, 335 FT. Long and 131 FT. Wide. Externally, the choir end of the church, with its Arabian pointed arches and mosaic decoration, is particularly fine. The magnificent main portal, flanked in northern style with 2 square towers, has 2 admirable bronze doors by Boninus Civis Picenus, 1186. The doors of the side portal are by Barassano. The pointed arches of the nave rest on granite columns, and all the walls are lavishly decorated with glass mosaics. The roof, 172 steps. Verger, who shows the chapels also, 5075C, commands a splendid view. Of the Benedictine monastery nothing is now left except the cloisters, the pointed arches of which are adorned with mosaics and borne by 216 columns in pairs, remarkable for the variety of their capitals and for the inlaid ornamentation of their shafts, date ca. 1200. Entrance 1 fr. From the Piazza del Duomo by the side door to the left. The custodian shows also the garden of the monastery, where we have a charming view of Palermo. See also Baedeker's Southern Italy. Pursuing our voyage to Tunis, we soon obtain a fine view of the bold limestone rocks of Monte Pellegrino, p. 151. We next pass the beautiful Bay of Mondello and the Cape Gallo and steer to the W, away from the Sicilian coast and the Gulf of Castellamare. That spacious gulf is bounded on the E by the Punta di Resi, a spur of Monte Orso, 2900 ft, and on the W by the mountains of San Vito, Monte Sparaggio, and others. Beyond Cape San Vito Lighthouse appear to the SW Monte San Giuliano, see below, and the Egadian Islands. The French steamers bound for Tunis direct pass near these islands, first Levanzo 951 ft. Ancient Forbentia, beyond which to the S is Favignana 1070 ft. Ancient Igusa, the largest of the group, then Maritimo Ancient Hira with Monte Falcone 2245 ft. The Italian steamer coming from Naples rounds Monte San Giuliano 2464 ft. A solitary mass of Jurassic rock, the ancient Urix, famed for its temple of Venus Uricina and highly revered by all the Mediterranean peoples, and next calls at Trapani Grand Hotel on the Quay, landing or embarkation without baggage 60C, Brit. Vice-Consul G. Marino, the ancient Drepana from Drepanen, a sickle, so called from the form of the peninsula. Down to the First Punic War, this was merely the port of the ancient Urix, but it is now a thriving commercial place, pop. 38,000. The chief export is the sea salt yielded by the extensive evaporation grounds on the W coast, towards Marsala. The coral fishery, also, is an important industry. The Naples steamer next passes through the strait between the islands of Levanzo and Favignana, see above, and the flat W coast of Sicily, and then steers to the SW through the Straits of Pantelleria, p. 396, between Favignana and the Isola Grande, towards Cape Bon, Arabic Ras Adar, the Roman Promontorium Mercuriae, the boundary of the Bay of Tunis, p. 129. High up on this bold headland stands a lighthouse, 410 ft, visible for 32 m around, one of the most important landmarks for mariners between Gibraltar and Egypt. Beyond the cape rises Jebel Abiad, 1273 ft, with its semaphore. The islands to the W are Zembretta and Zembra or Jammer, 1420 ft. The ancient Egemuris. The great quarries near Eleueria, the ancient Aquilaria, between Cape Bon and the Ras El Amr, 318 ft, yielded the Phoenicians the material for building Carthage. We next pass the Anse de Thénère with its important tunny fishery Idle, Tunara, and the Ras Al Fordas. The steamers usually enter the inner bay of Tunis and Lake Bahira in the early morning. Tunis, CP 329. The Italian cargo steamers P146 first touch at Castellamare del Golfo, then proceed to Trapani, see above, where they spend the night. They next pass Favignana, see above, Isola Grande, the lagoon of Lo Stagnan, and Capo Boo or Lilibio, the W. Extremity of Sicily. Marsala Albergo Central, Leone, Stella d'Italia, landing or embarkation 60C with heavy baggage 1/2 fr. Brit. Vice-Consul Chas F. Gray, Pop. 58,000 is a busy trading town, well known for its fiery wines. It occupies the site of Lilybæum, the chief fortress of Carthage in Sicily. The modern name is of Moorish origin Marsoali, harbor of Ali. Skirting the monotonous SW coast of Sicily, the vessel next calls at Madeira del Vallo Alb Central, Alb Stella. Brit. Vice-Consul O. Favara, founded as Madeira by the Greeks of Selinus, but destroyed along with its mother city by the Carthaginians in 409 BC. Beyond Madeira we pass the Punta di Granatola, the Ras el Balat of the Moors, who in 827 began their victorious progress through the island, and the broad bay of Selinus, where the grandest ruined temples in Europe are situated. Beyond Cape San Marco we come to Sciaca Nuova Italia, Pop. 25,000, a seaport situated on a steep hill, 262 ft, above the sea with its moldering castles of medieval nobility. The name was originally Arabic Shaka. In ancient times it was called Thermae Selinuntii, from the already famous vapor baths in the caverns at the foot of Monte San Calogero, 1,272 ft, and the hot salt springs, 132 degrees far. The steamer next steers to the WSW. Through the Straits of Pantelleria, p. 396, at a little distance from the shallows where the volcanic Isola Ferdinandia, 4.5 m in circumference, rose from the sea with a crater, on 18 July 1831, but disappeared on 12 Jan. 1832. On the margin of the shallower water, in a great submarine basin 3,900 ft deep, lies the island of Pantelleria, also belonging to Italy. Its chief town, off which the steamer anchors for some hours, is on the NW side. This volcanic island, 32 sq m in area, culminates in an extinct crater 2743 ft in height, while numerous fumaroli, or smoking and steaming fissures, and hot mineral springs testify to a continuous volcanic activity. This was further indicated by a submarine eruption which occurred in 1891 within 3 m of the island to the NW. The steamer afterwards rounds Cape Bon, p. 153, and follows the same course to Tunis as the larger passenger steamers. From Naples to Syracuse, Malta, Tunis, Tripoli, via Messina and Catania. From Naples to Messina, 204 m. = 1, steamers of the Ferrovie dello Stato Line D leave Naples Sun. Evening are at Messina Moan, morning at Reggio at noon, returning from Reggio same afternoon and from Messina same evening. Fares 22 fr, 85 14 fr, 70 c. = 2, Societa Nazionale, A, line Roman 20, Linea Circolare CPP, 134 142, dep. From Naples Sat, aft are at Messina Sun, morning returning from Messina Wed aft. B, line V Genoa Alexandria, p. 134, dep. From Naples Thurs, aft are at Messina Frid, morning returning from Messina Sun. Evening, fares by these two lines 22 fr, 85 14 fr, 70 c. C lines X and Z fortnightly from Naples via Palermo, comp. p. 146 to Messina fares 50 fr, 10 33 fr, 40 c. From Naples to Catania, 258 m, the Linea Circolare C below, also the North German Lloyd Mediterranean Levant, RR, 23-24 every second moan. From Catania twos, in 16 HRS, fare 36 or 24 marks. From Messina to Syracuse, 93 m, only the Linea Circolare dep. From Messina Sun. Morning are at Reggio same morning at Catania Sun, afternoon at Syracuse Moan. Evening, returning from Syracuse 2s, forenoon from Catania 2s, midnight and leaving Messina for Naples on Wed aft. This steamer may be overtaken at Syracuse if we go by train from Messina to Syracuse, comp. p. 158, in which case there will be time to spend a night at Taormina and see the sunset and sunrise. At Syracuse, a drive through the old town should not be omitted, comp. p. 162. Naples, CP 135. Steering across the bay towards the peninsula of Sorrento, we enjoy a delightful retrospect of Mt. Vesuvius and the hills around Naples. Farther on, we admire the bold rocky end coast of the island of Capri. After 1/4 hr, we pass through the Bocca Piccola, a straight 3 m in breadth between the huge cliffs of Lo Capo, the Eni point of Capri, and the Punta di Campanella, 154 ft. Lighthouse, the extremity of the peninsula of Sorrento. The steamboat now proceeds to the SSE towards the Straits of Messina. We have a fine view, in passing, of the Punta Treggera, the S.E. headland of Capri, with the cliffs of the Faraglioni and of the precipitous Monte Solero, 1920 ft. The highest hill in the island. On our left lies the broad Gulf of Salerno, with the bays of Positano and Amalfi on the S side of the peninsula of Sorrento. Conspicuous among the Neapolitan Apennines are the spurs of Monte Stella, 3708 ft, with the Punta Licosa, and of Monte Bulgaria, 4016 ft, with Cape Palinuro lighthouse. At length, far off the coast of Calabria, we sight to the S the volcanic Lipari or Iolian Islands, the ancient Liparia or Ioliae. We pass close to Stromboli, the Strongyle of the Greeks, which the ancients regarded as the seat of Aeolus, god of the winds. This island culminates in a peak 38 ft. With a crater on its end side, often shrouded in smoke, which is one of the few constantly active volcanoes in Europe. To the SW. We descry in clear weather Panarea, 1381 ft. With its archipelago of smaller islands, Lipari, the largest of the group with Monte Sant'Angelo, 1955 ft. And Vulcano with its ever-smoking crater, 1638 ft. Off Cape Vaticano Lighthouse, a spur of the Calabrian coast hills between the bays of Sant'Eufemia and Gioia, we sight the end coast of Sicily, with the Monti Pelleritani, the Myconius Mons or Mons Neptuni of the Romans, overtopped by Mt. Etna, p. 159. On the Calabrian coast, near the strait which was the chief scene of the earthquake of 1908, p. 156, appear the ruins of the little town of Pami, halfway up Monte Elia, 1900 ft. A famous point of view, and those of Bagnara and of Silla with its castle rock. The asterisk voyage through the Straits of Messina, Faro, or Stretto di Messina, the Fretum Siculum of antiquity, is one of the most beautiful in the Mediterranean. Both banks are luxuriantly fertile, shaded with palms, and yielding oranges, pomegranates, and prickly pears. The Calabrian coast, thickly studded with villages, partly in ruins, culminates in Montalto, 5424 ft. The highest peak of the wooded Espremont, the ancient Sila, while we survey the Sicilian coast as far as Mt. Etna. The narrowest part of the straits, 2m, is between the Punta del Ferro, p. 158, and the Punta Pezzo, where they are entered from the Tyrrhenian Sea. Between Messina and Villa San Giovanni, p. 159, they are 4.5 m, and between Capo di Scaletta, p. 158, and the Punta di Pelaro, p. 159, in the Ionian Sea, 8.75 m wide. The currents which sweep past the headland of Silla, see above, and cause strong eddies near the harbor of Messina, sometimes augmented by gales, gave rise at a very early period to the legend of Scylla and Charybdis, and Homer has described Scylla as a roaring, all-devouring sea monster. We pass the lighthouses of the Punta del Ferro and the Punta di Pezzo. Nearing the harbor of Messina, in a bay formed by a sickle-shaped peninsula, we survey the ruins of the city on the green slopes of the Monti Pelleritani, p. 155, whose fissured peaks tower above the sea of houses, once so picturesque. The central point of the earthquake of Messina, 28th deck. 1908, caused by dislocation or subsidence, was the strait and the W slope of Espremont, p. 155. The first terrific shock at 5 a.m. was followed almost immediately by a great tidal wave caused by a submarine earthquake, and aggravating the calamity in the lower parts of the coast towns and villages. The effects of the earthquake were disastrous also in Calabria as far to the N as Cosenza, and in Sicily as far to the S, as Pacino, near Cape Passero, p. 411. At Messina, the sea wave rose to a height of 8.9 ft, at Reggio 11.5 ft, and at Giardini and Reposto 19 a 20 ft. The area of the seismic disturbance extended to the Eni to Pizzo on the Bay of Sant'Eufemia, p. 155, to the E to the mouth of the Amendolia, near Cape Spartivento and the small town of Ferrazzano, the scene of the earthquake of 1907, and to the S to Reposto, p. 158. It was estimated that 96,000 persons lost their lives. The value of the buildings destroyed amounted to about 6,500,000 L. Equals Messina, equals arrival. Landing or embarkation 1 fr, or without baggage 50 c, but bargain advisable. Passengers are landed at the Chi Aprodo ferryboats, adjoining the old Stazione Porto, where, in connection with the express from Naples, steam ferry from Villa San Giovanni, express trains to Catania and Palermo are in waiting. Hotels' inquiries should be made as to prices, all with the exception of the Excelsior built of wood and very fair. Gr. Hot. Regina Elena Weil Roosevelt to the E of Weil San Martino in an open situation commanding fine views to be opened in 1911, Grand Hotel R405B, 1/4 fr. Excelsior R410B 1/2 fr. Belvedere R2 3/2 fr. these 3 in the Viale San Martino, Venezia, Piazza Cavallati. Cab per drive 60 with luggage 80 C, at night 1 FR. By time 2 FR for the first hour and 1 FR, 50 C for each addit. Hour, to the Punta del Ferro 6-7 FR. Post office, Viale San Martino. Telegraph office in the piazza of the chief station. Tourist agency, Mrs. Pierce via Primo Settember, opposite the railway station. British Vice Consul, J.B. Haynes. The town of Messina was like Reggio, completely destroyed by the earthquake of 1908, comp. Above, and has now only 80,000 inhab. As against 110,000 in 1908. Notwithstanding this catastrophe, it was finally decided in autumn 1909 to rebuild the town on its former site. Its harbor, one of the best in the Mediterranean, the third in importance in Sicily, sustained no damage and has even now a very brisk trade. 1908. 3589 vessels of 2,598,647 tons burden. 1910. 3148 vessels of 733 tons burden. The great charm of Messina consists in the beauty of its environs and the views they afford, particularly of the Calabrian coast by evening light. Originally named Zancle, i.e. sickle, Messina was one of the earliest of the Greek colonies in Sicily, having been founded about 730 BC, early in the 5th cent. It was occupied by new colonists from the Messenian Regio, p. 159, and called Messana. From the earliest times, the Messenians took a leading part in almost all the political agitations in the island. In 228, the Mamertines, disbanded mercenaries of Agathocles, p. 163, treacherously seized the town and soon afterwards invoked the aid of the Romans against Hannibal, thus directly giving rise to the First Punic War. For a time, Messina enjoyed the special favor of the Romans, and even of Verres, the notorious proconsul, but when it became the naval base of Pompey, in 36 BC, it was plundered by the soldiers of Octavian. From the period of the Crusades, by which Sicily was partly affected, date the privileges which made Messina a kind of free city and the seat of the Sicilian opposition to foreign domination. The failure of its war against Spain, 1672-8, notwithstanding the help of French troops sent by Louis Roman XIV, and 2 naval victories won by Admiral Duquesne over the Spanish-Dutch fleet under de Ruyter, 1676, caused the downfall of the city. Terrible pestilences, the plague in 1740 and cholera in 1854, severe earthquakes in 1783 and 1894, and the bombardment of the town by the Neapolitan fleet in 1818 had already seriously injured Messina prior to its recent appalling calamity. The ruins extend along the shore to the N, from the sickle of the harbor and the citadel to the Giardino a Mare, under whose plane trees is a camp for the destitute. The citadel itself, with its broad moats and its bastions, is still standing. On the Marina or Corso Vittorio Emanuele, formerly called also La Palizzata, are still seen several palatial facades, interrupted by archways and passages leading to the parallel Via Garibaldi. These are mostly relics of a uniform row of palaces, erected after the earthquake of 1783. Opposite the ruined Palazzo Municipale rises the Neptune Fountain, by Montorsali, a pupil of Michelangelo, 1557, with a colossal statue of Neptune between Scylla and Charybdis. Beyond the Via Garibaldi lies the Piazza del Duomo, with the almost intact Orion Fountain by Montorsali, 1547-51, a point which may be reached direct from the Dogana by the Via Primo Settember. The Cathedral La Matrice, founded by the Normans in 1098, is now, with the exception of the choir niche, a mass of ruins. The short Via Università degli Studi led to the SE from this piazza to the university, now also destroyed. A few paces to the S of the university, in the coast plain called the Mosella, between the torrent Portugny and the torrent Zara, and beyond the ruins of the new quarters of the town, lies the main camp of wooden barracks for the homeless, flanking the Viale San Martino. A good survey of the ruins, as well as a superb view of the straits, is obtained from the old Forte Casallaxio, which, along with the modern forts, the barracks of the mountain artillery, and the powder magazine, has escaped destruction. The way to it, 35-40 min, is up the torrent Portugny close to ruined houses. We then skirt the Botanic Garden, cross the Piazza Venti Settember occupied by barracks, and ascend straight on the steep Via Casallaxio. The beautiful excursion to the Punta del Ferro, cab, CP 156, bargain advisable, affords a good survey of the devastated environs. The road leads from the Giardino a Mare P 157, and the camp called Villaggio Regina Elena, along the foot of the hills, past luxuriant orchards, and through the ruined fishing villages of Salvador dei Greci, Paradiso, and Pace. It then skirts two lagoons, the Pantano Grande or Lago di Ganziri, below the ruins of Ferro Superior, a village famed for its wine, and the Pantano Piccolo. On the Punta del Ferro or Capo Peloro, once Promontorium Pelorum, the any point of Sicily, are the ruins of the fishing village of Ferro or Torre del Ferro, and near it the quite intact lighthouse 200 steps, Keeper 50C, which commands a splendid asterisk view of the Lipari Islands and the Calabrian coast as far as Cape Vaticano, Comp. P 155. From Messina to Syracuse, 115 m, railway in 6 a 7 HRS. Fares 22 FR, 60 15 FR, 85 10 FR, 25C journey may be broken once, to Giardina Giormina, 30 ½ m in 1 a 2 HRS. The quick trains start from Messina Harbor, Comp. P 156. The morning train, which runs to Syracuse Harbor, has a dining car, Dage, 2 a ½ FR. The train skirts the coast, affording fine views. It crosses the stony channels of several torrenti or flumer, which are generally dry, and pierces a number of headlands by means of tunnels. A ½ m Galati, 12 m Scaletta Zanclea with a picturesque castle not far from the Capo di Scaletta, 15 ½ m Ollie with sulfur baths. Beyond the 23 m beautiful Cape of Sant Alessio with a deserted castle, we sight the headland of Taormina, a ½ m Giardina Giormina. The village of Giardini lies in a small bay in a malarious region 1/4 m beyond the Capo di Taormina. Giormina is reached by road 3 m, by a bridle path or by a steep footpath. Diligence 1 FR. Down 50C, car, according to number of party 25 FR. Heavy luggage had better be left at the station. Taormina 673 FT. San Domenico Palace Hotel, Hotel Casello a Maritimeo International, Villa San Pancrazio Metropole, all often crowded from 15th Jan. To April and closed in summer, Plainer, San Giorgio, Victoria Nomatia, etc., Brit. Viscons, Dr. S. Caxiola Cartella, Pop. 4000, the ancient Taoromnium, a highly picturesque little town, lies on the SE spurs of Monte Venere, 2900 FT, and is overlooked by a ruined castle, 1300 FT, and by the village of Mola, 2083 FT. Its chief attraction is the ancient theater, at the end of the town, which is open daily till dusk. Originally Greek, it was entirely remodeled in the Roman period. The spectators' area, cavea, almost wholly hewn in the rock, is 357 FT. In diameter, and the orchestra, seats for persons of distinction, 115 FT. The stage, pulpitum, is particularly well preserved. The asterisk view from the site of the theater is one of the most beautiful in Italy, especially in the morning, when the sun rises above Calabria, or, in winter, from the sea, imparting a rosy hue to the snowy peak of Mt. Etna, P 159, and gilding the rocky heights beyond the theater. Between Taormina and Catania, the train crosses a number of the lava streams descending from Mt. Etna. On the northmost of these, near Schizo, between the Bay of Giardini and the mouth of the Alcantara, Arabic Alcantara, the bridge, lay Naxos, founded in 735 BC, the oldest Greek colony in Sicily. M. Gyra Raposto, the station for the country town of Gyra, and for the seaport of Raposto, which has a brisk trade in wine. It is also the starting point of the railway round the W side of Mt. Etna, Ferrovia Circumetnea, 68½ m in length, M. Asiril, 525 ft. Sicil. Iasi, a wealthy country town built on several lava streams and much frequented as a bathing place on account of its mineral springs, sulfur, salt, and iodine. Near, 55½ m. Asai Casello we perceive on the left in the C7 cliffs of columnar basalt, the Scogli de Cyclopi or Islands of Cyclops, the rocks which according to Greek myth the blinded Polyphemus hurled after the crafty Ulysses. A ½ m equals Catania equals, CP 160. Running inland, the train enters the Piana di Catania, the plain of the rivers Simto and Gornalunga, which is often flooded in winter. This was the region of the Laestrygonian fields of antiquity, extolled by Cicero as the Uberrima Siciliae pars, and still the granary of the island. To the right, beyond the Monte Cartina, in a malarious district lies the Lago di Lentini, the largest lake in Sicily. On the left, beyond, 77.5 m Lentini, Greek Leontinoi, is the swampy lagoon Pantano di Carlentini. We pass numerous saltworks and snow-white pyramids of sea salt. M. Augusta, the ancient Siphonia, a seaport with 16,000 in Hab, lies in a site similar to that of Syracuse, on the end margin of the Bay of Megara, which is bounded by the headlands of Santa Croce and Santa Panagia, p. 162. 98.5 m Megara Iblia, not far from the site of the Greek colony of Megara Hyblia. On the left is the Peninsular Magnaci, the ancient Thapsos, on the end side of which lay the fleet of the Athenians during their expedition against Syracuse, p. 163. The train passes the small bay of Trigillos, where the fleet of Marcellus once anchored, p. 163, and a tunny fishery, Tunara, runs through a cutting and skirts the limestone plateau near Cape Santa Panagia. To the left, we have a fine view of the sea and the modern town, and at length reach the 115 m harbor station of Syracuse, p. 162. From Messina to 8 m Reggio, a delightful trip, especially by morning light, either by one of the steamers mentioned at p. 154 or by one of the ferry boats Comp. p. 156. To the left, nearly opposite Messina, is the little town of Villa San Giovanni, p. 155, now in ruins, as are also the villages of Catona, Gallico, Archai, and others farther to the s. Reggio = Alb. Veneto Trentino, a temporary hotel-restaurant, before the earthquake of 1908, a town of 35,000 in Hab. Called Reggio Calabria to distinguish it from Reggio in the Emilia, lies at the W base of the Espremont, p. 155. The ancient Regium, originally a Euboean colony, but occupied by new Messenian settlers in 723 BC, has been destroyed 8 times in war and twice by earthquakes, 1783 and 1908. Its last disaster was most appalling in the upper quarters. Along the shore, and in the piazzas, the survivors are now living in huts. The Strada Reggio Campi above the town offers a beautiful view, especially towards evening. On the voyage to Catania, we enjoy a splendid view of the whole of the straits as far as the Punta del Ferro, p. 158, and later of the coast of Calabria from the Punta di Pelero, p. 155, to the Capo del Armi. On the Sicilian coast rise the Monti Pelleritani, p. 155, and the majestic Mt. Etna, 10,958 ft. Italy. Etna, the highest volcano in Europe, with its countless minor craters and the Great Val del Bove, the remains of the enormous oldest crater, 3 m broad, bounded by rocky slopes of 3,900 ft. In height. The view is specially striking beyond Taormina, p. 158, and we obtain also a good idea of the volume and the direction of the old lava streams. After 16 years, quiescent fresh flows of lava were emitted in the Val del Bove in 1908 and from the volcano's S-slope in 1910. Beyond Asiril, p. 158, and Cape Maleni, the end limit of the broad Bay of Catania, we sight the Scogli du Ciclopi, p. 159. As we enter the harbor of Catania, we have a fine view of the S side of Etna. Catania = arrival. The steamers anchor in the Nuovo Porto PL, FG6, whence passengers are rowed 60C with baggage 1 FR. To the Dagana PL, FG5 in the Porto Vecchio, a harbor very much contracted by the lava stream of 1669, see below. Hotels, Grand Britannia PL, a F4 via Lincoln R3A6 B1.5 Dage, 3.5 D5.5 FR. Bristol and Du Globe PL, C E4 via Santa Maria del Rosario R3A6 B1.5 Dage, 3 D4.5 FR. Central Europa PL, D E5 core of the Piazza del Duomo and via Ragusa R2 a 4 Am, 3/4 FR, well spoken of, and others. Restaurants, Marconi, Piazza Università 15 good, Savia via Marletta 15 behind the Municipio. Caf Tricomi via Stesicoro Etnia 30, Caf Amato via Stesicoro Etnia 151, Bariria Svizzera via Stesicoro Etnia 139 Dage, 2.5 D3 FR. Music in the evening, good. Steamboat agents. Società Nazionale, Piazza Duca di Genova 18, PLF 5, North German Lloyd Munzone Mineo & Co., same Piazza, no 3. British Vice Consul, W.A. Frank, Post and Telegraph Office, PL, E4 via Manzoni, English Church Services. Tramways. The chief line is from the railway station, Stazione Sicula, PL, H4 through Corso Vittorio Emanuele to the Piazza del Duomo, PL, E5, then to the N through via Stesicoro Etnia to the Ingresso of Villa Bellini, PL, E2 and Piazza Gioni. Cab 40 at night 50C. Per drive, first hour 1.5 FR. 2 horse 2 FR, 30C. Catania, a wealthy town of 162,000 inhab. The largest in Sicily after Palermo, the seat of a university, a bishop, and a natural science academy, has lately become the chief outlet for the products of the island, especially those of the extremely fertile environs. Catana, founded like Naxos by Euboeans, about 729 BC, became famous as the home of Charondas, the framer of the earliest Greek code of law, about 640. In the Athenian and Syracusan War, p. 163, it formed the Athenian base of attack. Catana was one of the first places in Sicily occupied by the Romans, and under their sway became one of the most populous towns in the island. In the Middle Ages, it vied for a time with Palermo and Messina as a favorite residence of the Aragon sovereigns. It has repeatedly suffered severely from the eruptions of Mt. Etna, especially in 122 BC and in 1669, and from earthquakes, 1169 and 1693, and the present town has been built almost entirely since 1693. From the Porto Vecchio, into which falls the brook Amanana after passing through the lava under the town, we walk through the Pesceria, fish and provision market, to the Cathedral PL, E5, visible from the sea, begun by the Norman Roger I, with materials from the ancient theatre, P161, but almost entirely destroyed by the earthquake of 1169. In the choir repose the Aragon sovereigns of the 14th cent. In the right side apse are treasured the remains of Saint Agatha, who, like Saint Rosalia, P152, was one of the most famous saints of Sicily, and whose veil is said to have diverted the lava stream of 1669 PL. B13 from the city at a point near the Benedictine monastery, see below. Opposite on the right is the monument of the Viceroy Acuna, D1494, quite Spanish in style. By the second pillar on the right is the tomb of Vinc. Bellini, the composer, a native of Catania, 1802-35. In the Piazza del Duomo rises a fountain with an antique elephant in lava, bearing an Egyptian obelisk of granite. Past its end side runs the Corso Vittorio Emanuele, with the Piazza dei Martiri and the statue of Saint Agatha at its end, PL. G5. We follow the Corso to the W to the Via Sant'Agostino, by the church of that name, PL. D5, and here turn to the N past the entirely altered Roman Odium, Comp. P349, to the Via del Teatro Greco. Here, near the corner on the right, at number 37, is the entrance to the Ancient Theatre, PL. D45, custodian at number 33, Fee 50C, once a fine structure, but now so buried in lava that some parts of it can be explored only by candlelight. The foundations alone date from the Greek period. In the Piazza Dante, a little to the NW, is the suppressed Benedictine monastery of San Niccolò PL. CD4 or San Benedetto, dating in its present form from the early 18th cent, with an imposing Baroque church. The extensive buildings now contain barracks, a school, the civic museum, the library, and the observatory. The church tower enter. Through the portal to the S of the facade, gratuity commands a panoramic asterisk view of the town, Mt. Etna, and the Sicilian and Calabrian coasts, which is finest before 9 a.m. At the Piazza Dante begins the Via Lincoln, PL. DF4, the second great thoroughfare of the town running W to E, partly hewn through the lava stream of 1669. This street is crossed by the Via Stesicoro Etnia, PL. E51, which intersects the whole town, from the Piazza del Duomo, see above, to the N end. Here rise the chief public buildings of Catania, the Municipio PL, E5, the University and the Prefettura PL, E4. Farther to the N is the Piazza Stessicaro. On its left side is the Church of San Carcere, PL, E3, with an interesting Norman portal brought from the cathedral. Close by the N part of a Roman amphitheater has been laid bare greater diameter 138, smaller 116 ids. The unusually large arena, 77 by 55 ids, is second only to that of the Colosseum, 94 by 59 ids. Still farther to the N on the left is the entrance to the Villa Bellini, PL, E2, a public park with fine views. After returning to the Porto Vecchio, we may follow the Via Scudo to the picturesque Castello Ursino, PL, D6, dating from the time of Emp, Frederick Roman II. After 1239, the quarter to the E of the castle is almost the only relic of the old town. On the voyage to Syracuse, the steamer proceeds to the Essi at some distance from the Piana di Catania, P159, affording a splendid view astern of Mt. Etna, and passes Capo Campolato, Capo Santa Croce, P159, and the Bay of Megara. As we enter the Bay of Syracuse, bounded on the N by the plateau of Capo Santa Panagia, P159, and on the SC, by the low Penisola della Madonna, 177 ft. The ancient Plemmyrian, we obtain an excellent idea of the site of the present island city, and of the vast extent of the ancient city on the mainland to the NW, stretching up the hill to the village of Belvedere, P166. The entrance to the inner bay of the Porto Grande, now much choked with sand, between the lighthouse at the end of the island and that of the peninsula behind the cliff of La Galera, is only 1312 ids, across. In the swampy and in summer malarious plain on the W bank of the harbor are the mouths of the rivers Anapo and Cyane, the ancient Anapos and Cayenne. Equals Syracuse equals arrival by sea. The steamers anchor near the landing place at the Porta Marina Scalo, comp map, landing or embarkation 50C, with baggage 1 FR. Railway stations. The central station, Stazione, C map, is on the Floridia Road, P165, 1M to the NW of the town. The expresses run down to the Stazione Porto. Hotels advisable to ask charges beforehand. Grand Hot. Villa Politi VP on the map on the mainland, near and in the Latomia dei Cappuccini, P165, with beautiful garden and fine views R48B, 1.5 Dage, 3.5 D5 pens, 1016 1.5 FR hot. Desitrangers, formerly Casa Politi, near the Arethusa Fountain, similar charges. Grand Hotel, Piazza Mazzini, close to the busy harbor, similar charges. Second class, Alb. Roma via Roma 64 R133 FR, well spoken of Alb. Firenze via Roma 73 R from 1.5 FR Alb. Cavour via Savia behind the Dogana R13 FR. These three with restaurants Ital. Cuisine. Café, Croce di Savia, Piazza del Duomo. Cabs, night fares from a half HR. After sunset till sunrise. Fares should be ascertained before starting. Per drive in the town, Inkel Harbor Station 40C with pair 1 FR, at night 70C or 1.5 FR. To or from Chief Station 65C or 1.5 FR, at night 90C or 1 FR. 90C. Luggage over 25 kilos or 55 pounds. 25 over 50 kilos or 1 CWT. 50C, first hour 1.5 or 2.5 FR, each added. A half HR. 60C or 1.5 FR. For a long drive, it is best to choose one's own vehicle in the Piazza del Duomo for an afternoon, noon till a half HR. After sundown, 5 or 10 FR, whole day 10 or 20 FR. Cheaper fares may generally be agreed upon out of the season. Steamboat agents. Societa Nazionale, via Ruggiero Settimo 38, close to the Dogana, Hungarian Adria Co., also Lloyd's agents, Geet, Bazanka and Figlio. British Vice Consul, Joseph Lobb. Post and Telegraph Office via Roma. English Church Service in winter. One day, the chief sights in the modern town are the cathedral, the museum, and the Arethusa Fountain, P164. The greater part of the day should be devoted to the ancient town. The most interesting places there, the Euryalus excepted, may be visited by carriage in 3-4 HRS. Latomia dei Cappuccini, p. 165, Catacombs of San Giovanni, p. 165. Amphitheater, p. 166, Hiero's Altar, p. 166, Greek Theater, p. 166, best towards sunset for the sake of the view. Walkers should ferry direct from the Prigeny in the town to the end bank of the Porto Piccolo, 10c. Syracuse, Italy. Syracusa, the most populous town in Sicily in ancient times, and indeed the most important of all the Hellenic cities, now a mere shadow of its glorious past, with 27,000 inhabitants. Only, lies on an island separated from the mainland by a narrow strait. It was founded under the name of Syracuse by Corinthians in 734 BC, on the island then called Ortygia, where a Phoenician settlement had perhaps already existed. Endless party conflicts between the nobles and the townspeople led in 485 to the intervention of the tyrant Gelon of Gela, who made Syracuse his residence. In alliance with Thuron of Acragas, Girgenti, he defeated the Carthaginians at the Battle of Himera in 480, the same year in which the victory of Salamis, p. 506, saved the mother country from destruction. The Syracusans thereafter gradually extended their sway over the greater part of Sicily, till the year 415, when to their dismay the Athenians, instigated by Alcibiades, intervened in Sicilian politics, and with the aid of the neighboring towns of Catana and Leontinoi, p. 159, proceeded to besiege the city. In 413, the might of Athens was forever shattered before the walls of Syracuse, but the dread of being attacked anew by the Carthaginians induced the Syracusans to entrust their government to the tyrant Dionysius I. 406–367, next to the Persian monarchs the most powerful prince of his age, who refortified and embellished the city. The tyrant Agathocles, 317–289, conducted a brilliant expedition against Carthage, but without permanent success. The last phase of the glory of Syracuse was witnessed in the long reign of Hiero Roman II, 275–216. As the Syracusans, after his death, allied themselves with Hannibal, their city was besieged by Marcellus in 214–212, and after its capture was sacked and destroyed. Since then, it has never again taken any part in political life. But in spite of its downfall, it is still one of the most interesting places in the whole of Sicily, while the beauty of its environs is hardly less fascinating than the monuments of its glorious past. The modern town. From the harbor station, p. 162, the broad Corso Umberto Primo, p. 165, crosses the strait to the island on which lies the modern town, whose narrow winding streets are still of medieval type. A pleasant walk with a view of Mt. Etna is by the Foro Vittorio Emanuele II and Passeggio Aretusa, leading from the Piazza Mazzini and the landing place, p. 162, along the harbor. In the grounds at the S-end of the promenade is a statue of the famous mathematician Archimedes, who defended his native city against Marcellus. Near it is the Fontana Aretusa, enclosed by papyrus shrubs. From this point the Via Manius leads to the SE to the Castello Manius, a Hohenstaufen castle at the S-end of the island, completed under Emp. Frederick Roman II. In 1239, but now modernized. To the end of the Fontana lies the Piazza del Duomo. The cathedral is built into a Doric temple, probably of Minerva, the beauty of which was extolled by Cicero in his oration against Verres, p. 157. It stood on a basement of 3 steps, about 61 ids long and 24 ids broad. The ancient columns with their entablature still project on the end side, and in the interior 19 columns also are visible. The Archaeological Museum opposite the cathedral to the NW contains valuable antiquities, mostly Sicilian from the earliest ages down to the Christian period. Adam, on weekdays, Oct, June 9–3, July Sept, 8–1 fr, Sun. Not all rooms accessible, 10–2 free. Ground floor. In room I, early Christian inscriptions and the sarcophagus of Adelphia 5th cent. From the Catacombs of San Giovanni, p. 165. In rooms Roman 3v, Greek inscriptions, sarcophagi, cinerary urns, and architectural fragments. Room Roman 6. Earthenware sarcophagi from Gela 6th cent. BC, Hellenistic and Roman sculptures. Room Roman 7, chiefly Greek sculptures. In room Roman 8, a fine Venus Anadyomene, Hellenistic. The staircase and first floor rooms Zion Roman 17 Roman 19 contain the ancient historical collection, showing the progress of Sicilian culture from the pre-Greek period, from the 15th cent down to the 5th cent BC. Rooms Roman 12, Roman 13. Greek vases from Sicily and Lower Italy, archaic bronzes and coins from ancient Sicily. Rooms Roman 14, Roman 16. Terracottas. The medieval and modern collections of the museum are to be transferred to the Palazzo Bellomo, a building of the 15th cent, in the Via Capodice running to the E from the Fontana Aretusa. The Via Cavour leads to the N from the Piazza del Duomo to the Via Diana, where on the left are the ruins of the so-called Temple of Diana, Keys at the Barbers opposite, Fee 30C, but now believed to have been dedicated to Apollo. This is one of the most curious of Greek temples. In front stood 2 rows of 6 columns each. The side walls were of unusual length and were each probably flanked by 19 columns. Be the ancient city. Long before the Athenian campaign, p. 163, ancient Syracuse had extended her boundaries far beyond her island of Ortygia and across the high plateau to the end to the Bay of Trogillos and the present Tonara near Cape Santa Panagia, p. 159. The earliest extension consisted in the Atradna, the smaller half of which lay between the Great Harbor and the plateau, while the larger half occupied the E-margin of the latter, and was enclosed by a wall whose ruins still exist. Adjoining the Atradna on the W were the Neapolis, or New City, on a terrace above the Great Harbor, and the quarter named Titch after a temple of the goddess of fortune. The Epipoli, the 5th and highest quarter on the W side of the plateau, was the chief base of the Athenian besiegers, but it was only completed after Dionysius I had, about 400–385, enclosed the entire half of the plateau stretching from the Atradna wall westwards, with a huge city wall, and had built the fortress of Euryalus at its W end. The circumference of the city, which however embraced a good deal of unoccupied land, was thus no less than 17 m of the enclosing wall 10½ m still exist. We begin with the Atradna. The Corso Umberto Primo, p. 163, the main street of the new suburb on the mainland, leads in 10 min to a round piazza whence radiate the Floridia Road, passing the central station and the Catania and Noto roads. The remains of columns on the drilling ground between this piazza and the small harbor probably belong to a superb agora or marketplace. From this point we follow the Catania Road to the N, whence an avenue soon diverges to the right to the Porto Piccolo ferry, CP 163, now choked with sand and leads along the shore below the suburb of Santa Lucia and across a railway cutting to 25 min the Capuchin Monastery, now a poorhouse. Close by, on the right, is the entrance to the Latomia dei Cappuccino Adam 30C, one of the wildest and grandest of the old quarries of Syracuse, now clothed with rich vegetation. It was here probably that the 7,000 Athenian prisoners of war languished in 413 BC. Following the road to the W, we skirt the plateau and pass the Cimitero to 10 min, the road coming from the upper Atradna, and go on by a cart road, whence, by the Latomia del Casale, we see the Catania Road before us and the church of San Giovanni below, on the left. San Giovanni occupies the W part of an old Norman basilica. Steps in the any corner lead to the crypt of St. Marcian, 4th cent. A monk, who shows the church also if desired, fee a LFR. Ring, on the S side, door to the E of the vestibule, conducts us to the *=catacombs of San Giovanni which like most of the catacombs of Syracuse and its environs, far surpass those of Rome in extent. The main passage of this great burial place, 4/7 cent. AD, 10 ft. High and 6 ft. Wide, runs through the rock from W to E for 116 ids, and from it diverge short lateral passages ending in circular chambers. Of the mural decoration little is now left. A little farther to the W, we cross the Catania Road to the region of Neapolis and follow the road leading to the Greek theater. To the left, in 5 min, we reach the house of the custodian, a half FR. Of the Roman amphitheater constructed in the time of Augustus, 153 by 130 ids. In area. In the arena lie many blocks of the marble parapet belonging to a restoration of the 3rd century. about 120 ids. Farther to the W is the entrance, also on the left, to the great altar of Hiero Roman II. 3050 C. On this vast altar, 219 ids, long and 25 ids. Broad and originally rising in two huge steps to a height of 34.5 ft, were probably sacrificed the annual hecatombs of 450 bulls in memory of the expulsion of the tyrant Thrasybulus, 466. Opposite we see the equals Latomia del Paradiso equals, an ancient quarry 95-130 ft, deep, so named from the most luxuriant vegetation which now clothes it, entrance through the gateway on the left. In its W slope is the so-called ear of Dionysius, entrance below, on the left, an S-shaped cavern 71 ids, deep 612 ids, wide and 76 ft, high, tapering at the top with remarkable acoustic properties. As the tyrant is said to have had prisons where from a certain spot he could hear every whisper, the tradition has been arbitrarily associated with this cavern. The road next passes under the modern arches of the aqueduct and reaches, on the right, the asterisk equals Greek theater equals, 5th cent, BC, one of the largest in the Hellenic world. It is hewn in the rock, forming more than a semicircle. Its diameter is 147 ids. 46 tiers of seats are still preserved. The 11 lower rows were covered with marble. Towards sunset, we have a delightful asterisk view of the town, the Porto Grande, the headland of Plemmyrion, and the sea. Above the theater is the so-called Nymphaeum, a grotto into which the aqueduct, sea below, was led. On its left side, the Via del Tom, hewn in the rock, ascends in a curve for 165 ids, with many lateral cuttings and tomb chambers of the late Roman age. From the Catania Road, a quarter m to the N of the branch road to the Greek theater, diverges to the left the new Euryalus Road, 3 m long. It leads to the W, soon passing the Casa dei Gesudi, to which walkers may ascend direct from the Nymphaeum. It runs parallel with an ancient aqueduct, Aquedato Gallermi, crosses the desolate plateau, very hot in summer, once the site of the Greek Neapolis and of Epipoli, P165, and joins the old Euryalus Road beyond the S-wall of Dionysius I a little farther, where the road diverges to the left to the village of Belvedere and the Posto Semaforico or Telegrafo, 617 ft. Fine view is the Casa dei Viaggiatori, RFMTS. Open from 15th Jan to 15th May, our road ends on the W side of Euryalus, 130 ids, from the custodian's house. The asterisk equals Euryalus equals Adam. 50c, the outer fort of the Epipoli, built about 400 BC at the junction of the N and S walls of Dionysius, is one of the best preserved of ancient Greek fortifications. The 5 massive towers on the W side, whence we survey the whole site of ancient Syracuse and enjoy a fine view ranging from Mt. Etna to Calabria, are flanked with 2 deep moats hewn in the rock. In the first of these are subterranean apertures for sallying purposes. We may return to Syracuse by the old Euryalus Road. On the S side of the plateau, it joins the Floridia Road, 1/4 m from the station. Roman 6, Algeria. Route Pay,